Morning. Stopped you for your tinted windshield, tinted side windows. You have your license and insurance, please.
Man, I just got rolled for that shit, man. I got caught on the night.
Okay. Well, I need to see your license and your insurance, please, for your tinted windshield and your tinted side windows.
So you finna write me, what, 2 citations?
I need to see your license and your insurance.
Y'all ain't giving nigga time to take the motherfucker off. Yeah, that's my insurance right there. You just did.
No, I need
man, that's my insurance right there.
A physical or digital copy.
I ain't got no motherfucking, I ain't got it.
Okay, you're refusing to show your insurance?
No, I ain't refusing. I have it. What the fuck you mean I'm refusing? I ain't refusing shit.
See it.
The last motorcycle cop, I told him I got it. I ain't show it to him. He didn't say it. He didn't say all that shit. Y'all niggas know some bullshit, man.
Here's your license.
Hey, now, last officer didn't verify that my motherfucking CDL. Now, man.
Right, if you could roll this window up to about right here, please.
Man, fuck all that. You already undid it, man.
You're refusing to do that?
Now, man, goddamn, man, what?
All right, right there. All right, you're at 4. You can't be below 25. And your insurance, please.
Tired of you motherfuckers, man. You got some gas in that motherfucker, that motorcycle? You got some gas in it?
I need to see your license.
Are you refusing to tell me you got some gas in it? Are you refusing to tell me you got some gas in that motherfucker? Huh? Bust ass nigga. Fuck he coming over here for? Lame ass nigga. Nigga, he got the job, nigga. Ain't nobody finna fuck with him. He ain't in harm, nigga.
Nah, he's fine.
Yeah, man, I'm just fucked up right now, nigga. I'm trying to go to work, nigga. Fuck.
Okay, well, you look for your insurance. I'll be back in a minute.
That's what the last officer said. The fuck? Nigga like you can't read my license plate, dumb ass nigga. They got my ass. Damn, these niggas just done pull me over again. Why the fuck I come this way, man? Come on, man. Right, the motherfuckers, hurry up. Let's go. I got shit to do. Let's go. Hurry up.
Okay. You have a citation for your windshield tint and your side window tint. I'm not going to give you a ticket for not having proof of insurance.
You can't. You ain't
yes,
got,
I can.
No, the fuck you can't.
The law says you have to have physical or digital copy of your insurance, and you don't have that.
I do have that.
No, you have to show it to me.
I can show you that,
You never showed it to me.
You ain't give me time, nigga. But the last
I haven't given you time.
the last that I was finding it, but
Just show it to me.
Fuck you talking about what you can't write. You got me fucked up. Nigga, I ain't riding around here fucked up.
Okay, that expired June 10th.
This ain't the one.
Well, that's the one.
Nah, my shit ain't expired, nigga.
Okay, sir. You have 12 days to contact. All the information to the court is listed right here.
Bet.
Drive safely.
You drive safely too.
But being shorter.
How tall are you?
I'm only 5'5".
Super slides 5'5" and gets plenty of ass.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to use that as an excuse either. But
so you're in sales?
Yeah, I'm in sales.
Are you in outside sales?
In store. You know, like selling like actual phones.
Okay.
I'm also training to do for businesses and things like that.
Okay, so you're an inside sale. You're 38.
Yeah, just turned.
What kind of shape are you in?
I'm overweight. Working on it right now.
Okay. You got 2 struggles already. You can't be short and fat.
Yeah.
2 strikes. You got to pick a struggle.
That's true.
Super slides 5'5", but he's yoked. You know that. Why are you short and fat?
Mm-hmm.
Why? You know women don't. I mean, why?
For sure. What is this man angry about? Right now, nothing except your little snide comment, Super Stylist 75 trademark. What's the trademark for anyways, motherfucker? Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Trademark? You and all the kids at recess talk about your trademark? Special little boy with your trademark? You see what I mean? Like, I'm not there. I'm not cool. Like, I'm just not there. But I'm trying. I'm gonna try to find love for Super Sly 75 trademark with the like. Let's go to this motherfucker's channel. Like, who is this guy? Super Sly 75. Super Sly 75. Let's see here. Super Sly 75. I found you, dog. 39.9K subscribers. Wait. Hang on. Damn, dude, you be actually doing a lot of videos. That's interesting. What's the trademark for, though, bro? Come on now. Let's see here. Let's see if I agree with a lot of your takes here. That's interesting. I'll say this. You're putting in work. That's for sure. Definitely putting in that work. Good for you. Do you have shorts going too? Damn, you got shorts going too? All right, Super Sly. Oh, what's this one? Wait a minute. When you're bored and you watch too many Miami Vice, you're like loading a pistol or something like that? That's interesting. All right, man. All right. You got some cool cats. I dig it. Nice, man. And so that's like a black bomber, man, on your thing? Man, I'm a fan. I'm going from a hater to a fan now. Interesting. I'm going to give you a subscribe. There you go. What is the TM about, though? What's that about?
Round one. Fight! Juggernaut punch! Juggernaut punch! I'm out of meters! I'm out of meters!
By the power of Grayskull.
Round one. Fight! KO!
Until next time, this is He-Man wishing you
Hello, good evening. Give me a quick sound check, please. Good evening. I know I'm late. Don't hold it against me. Yes, please give me a quick sound check. Please and thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. All right. Good, cool. All right. I sound good. I sound bueno. Right. Okay. For sure. Awesome. Okay, tonight we're going to go down a rabbit hole. We're going to go down a religious rabbit hole. Some things I've mentioned before. Other things, not so much in passing, but I think we should have fun tonight. I'm not going to be on super long, but I want to go down this religious rabbit hole with y'all and talk the perfect possession, talk some demon possession. I'm here for it tonight. All right? I'm here for it tonight. Who is aware of Father Malachi Martin? Once again, you got to be an old conspiracy head if you remember who Father Malachi Martin was. Okay, if you don't know if it doesn't sound familiar, that's okay. You're gonna learn tonight. Father Malachi Martin. Ciao. We're going down this rabbit hole tonight. So, all right. So the theory goes, maybe it's not so much a theory. The theory goes the Vatican has been infiltrated by Satanists. Okay. The theory goes the Vatican, right? The cream of the creme de la creme of Catholicism has been infiltrated by Satanists. Not Luciferians, Satanists. But there's a little bit of Luciferianism in there anyway. But anywho, This is the rabbit hole we're going down tonight. We're gonna go over some old conspiracy tea. This should be interesting. All right, Father Martin Malachi, courtesy of Art Bell. Rest in peace to both of these men. And we're gonna go here, man. Perfect possession, demon possession. This man was saying this 20, 30 years ago, mind you. Okay, this interview is roughly from 1996. This is an old interview, so we're looking at roughly 30 years. Okay. Yeah, 30 years. Okay, let's get to it.
Go on and on. Horrible deformities. Something's happening.
Well, and then, by the way, we should also add things we are not told in public. The deformed babies that are born in a section of Europe, which is also covered by the Chernobyl explosion, but also simply happening, deformations of adults as well as children. And they're not reported widely.
Doctor, a report 2 days ago from London of an abnormal amount of deformed fetuses in Britain. Britain is experiencing more radiation, ultraviolet radiation, as a result of depletion of the ozone right now than are we.
Sure. Then, by the way, there's a thing because we're touching a sacred cow when we touch on it, and that's nuclear energy.
Yes, sir.
I'm firmly convinced from the evidence that, and the evidence by reputable scientists, these are not crackpots. They're men who have engaged in Nobel Prize activities in chemistry and in physiology and economics, and they can point out the effect of radiation on the human frame, especially on those parts of the brain that deal with moral and ethical judgment. And it's a bit frightening because it means that the rise in criminality, the distinct rise in criminality, recidivism, constant crime and doing, and horrible crimes with no reason at all but simply cruelty, is some deform.
Okay, now we are smack dab in the middle of some of the worst incidents of crime against children, women, men, parents versus children, vice versa. We are living in an age where anybody can get it. There are no limits. Nobody's safe, right? No one gets a pass. So the level of criminality that we are experiencing it's been for a while now, right? This man was saying this 30 years ago. Let's continue.
Formation of nature in itself. And I'm afraid it's on the increase, not on the decrease.
Is it reasonable to ask you when a human being is possessed by a demon, what is the purpose of the possession of an individual?
The destruction of that individual's soul to such a point that it must end up in hell. Hell being a place, a location, an existence which is totally separate from God. The belief is that everybody was created to be happy forever, and God wants everybody to enjoy heaven, the joys of heaven, the perpetuity of heaven, the peace of heaven, and the ecstasy of heaven. The demons, excluded from that and barred from it because of their rebellion, want to make sure that as many human beings as possible don't attain it. And that is done by possession. And possession is a funny thing. It's a funny operation. It never starts suddenly. You don't wake up in the morning and say, gee whiz, I'm possessed. It doesn't happen like that. It's like any addiction. It's like anything that happens slowly.
Okay, so briefly, Father Malachi Martin, all of these Pope movies, these exorcist movies that have been coming out the last decade or so are based off of him. The Exorcist is based off of him. The Pope's executioner based off of this man. Okay? This guy was one of the Vatican's go-to guys for exorcisms, right? He was a high-ranking officer in the Jesuits assigned to work for the Vatican, okay? This is what they paid this man to do, is go exorcise demons. Now, I'm not here to say which religion is better or more superior. I'm not here to even get you to think that, God is real if you're an atheist. That's not my intent. I'm just telling y'all what this man has gone through, his impact, and then the way he died is even crazier. But let's continue.
bit by bit, I cede control of my will and my intellect to a demon. And one day, the possession is complete.
Is this a fight, Doctor, between an individual's will and that of the demon?
Well, usually, to be more accurate, it's a fight between the will of the exorcist and the will of the demon.
Well, I guess I meant before you've, or somebody like yourself has met up with this possessed individual.
Yes.
As the process of takeover is underway,
yes.
Is it a fight between the persons?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is, between the person's will and the demon intending to possess. Usually the tendency or the attempt to possess is through deception. For instance, we have, in the northeast corner of America, since 1975, we've had a huge increase in the following type of possession. A young man, say 30-something, 40-something, a young woman, will come and say, look, when I was in college, when I was studying, when I took up a residence as a doctor or a lawyer, whatever it was, I made a pact with the devil. I needed money. I needed a position. And I asked him to help me, and he did, but he took over my will and my mind. Now I want to get rid of it. How do I get rid of it? Well, we have an increase in that phenomenon, which I never thought we had. Some of them don't even believe in God. Some of them are Jewish, some of them are Buddhist, some of them are Christian, some of them are Protestants or Catholics. There's no profile of the possessable person.
So when I see these comments of people in people's channels and posts and stuff, why is everybody? I would never sell my soul. Yeah, okay. You probably already have and didn't and forgot the deal that you agreed to. You know, like it doesn't look a certain. Most people are expected to look a certain way, and that's not how this works. Y'all expecting to be at the crossroads like Robert Johnson and a lightning bolt, or somebody walks up and says, "Hey, I heard you wanna play a guitar pretty good. I can help you with that." That's not how this works. Okay. There are a lot of people that have made pacts with the devil for just what we would deem trinkets at this point. But nonetheless, let's continue.
Once you have issued such an invitation, is there any way to go back?
If it has been taken up, then
Yes.
your only recourse is exorcism that we know of. There may be other recourses. We don't know of any recourse except that.
Are there cases in which a possession is not obvious?
Yes,
I would imagine there are many where the spirit has simply won and is in firm control. I would think that...
Okay, now this is the probably the most important part I want to get into. It's called the perfect possession. And there's a lot of people that are under this, and they're okay with it. A lot of, some of these people's kids had no choice or understood the arrangement and are okay with it, okay? This goes to a lot of your celebs, a lot of your politicians, your athletes, your bankers, your doctors, every and any industry where there's an elite class. And there's a lot of people that are okay with it. Matter of fact, the first person that came to mind was Anderson Cooper, right? He had lost a brother as a toddler, and there was a picture of Anderson Cooper, very, very young. Man, I did a video on that shit years ago, and I hate that I scrubbed my channel the way that I did. Anderson Cooper, he was in a particular room. And then there's this piece hanging over the wall. This is it here, right? Yes, this here. I wish I could blow it up. Well, let me see if it let me see if it'll blow. Let me blow it up. Okay, hold on. Nope. No, you're not gonna let me blow it up. There we go. Okay. Hold on. You see this shit over his bedroom? This was in his bedroom as a kid. You see this? This was in his bedroom as a kid. So there are plenty of families that have made the movie Hereditary, where entire bloodlines belong to a particular demon, and they've made pacts. The grandparents made pacts. The great grandparents made pacts. Usually the firstborn son of every generation, whatever the case may be. Perfect possession. All right. I remember, and I was just like, who the hell would? And I believe his younger brother fell out of a window or some shit. So Anderson Cooper has been under some heavy psychosis, some heavy trauma as a kid. Okay, I would recommend. I would think he's under perfect possession. Okay, so not to get bogged down, let's get back to it. I'll let Father Malachi break it down. Right, let's continue. Perfect possession.
The people who come to you are those who are sort of in the middle of a giant battle.
That's right. When you find somebody, the typical things of somebody throwing themselves on the ground or cursing and spitting and protesting and defecating, urinating and all sorts of protest. What they're doing is protesting, saying, help me.
Yes.
Help me. The perfectly possessed, we call them, the perfectly possessed, are those that are completely at peace. And I've known several of the perfectly possessed, and I avoid them like the pest. And you know them only by almost accidental means. Sometimes they're perfectly normal, by the way, and they've got great business property. They're married, they have children and wives, and they put down responsible jobs. There's nothing.
Pay attention. The perfectly possessed. These are the people that are okay with the pacts they made with whatever demon their family signed up with. Okay.
Nothing wrong there. Now and again, just now and again, it, as it were, a veil is drawn aside, and you see somebody you don't know at all. You just don't know this person, this man, this woman. And there's a completely alien look, a completely alien attitude, and they breathe alienation. And you know then, if you have a nose for it, you know then that they're perfectly possessed and there's nothing to be done about it. The first man I knew like that was called Beedham, John Beedham, and it was a frightening experience because I had known him for years.
In other words, their pact, their deal, they are at peace with and comfortable with their deal.
That's right, and they have passed through.
I would surmise that Jay-Z is perfectly possessed. Him and Beyonce, them kids, it's a wrap for those kids. Everybody's cool with the pact that Jay made with whatever demon he serves. And when I see people in these comments, I would never, how could they do it? Like, just shut up. But okay, let's continue.
The usual Satanist rituals too, the three Satanist rituals: the power of inflicting pain, the power of hating, and the power of burning fire. Fire is part of the Satanist and the Luciferian development, and they pass through all those with flying colors.
Doctor, I want to circle back for a second.
Sure.
You scared me quite well. You said, and this was going to be a major question for you this morning.
Yes.
I talked to you about the quickening.
Yes.
I didn't even get to all the facets. To me, it's many, many things. But you said there was a huge increase in the number of possessions, and I was going to ask you that. To me, that just adds to the pile. That is true. There's more now.
It's about, since 1975, when I really started in earnest exorcisms in the United States, it's about 800% increase.
Okay, these are all your schizophrenics, your bipolars, some of your autistic people. What has increased, damn near tenfold, right? Mental health awareness, mental health illness diagnoses have gone through the roof in the last few decades. Yes? Okay, let's continue. In
frequency. Frequency. And it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And the one part of the phenomenon is this, Art, that now, for the first time, exorcists and psychiatrists are working closely together. And I work with psychiatrists. I do the spiritual side of it, and they do the psychiatric end of it. There's always a psychiatric preparation and follow-up on after an exorcism.
You mentioned that one psychiatrist simply gave up psychiatry.
That's right. I gave him a code name of Hammond. That's not his real name, but he was very, very skeptical about it all. And finally, I said, "Okay, Doctor, look, if you insist, but you must have some protection." He wasn't a Catholic, by the way, but he was a very honest, sincere man. I didn't mean but. He was, and once he went through it, that was it. He would never touch another possessed person. He would never touch psychiatry ever again. He went off and did something else. He was a qualified doctor and became an ordinary MD. And confined himself to that.
Doctor, how frequently do you think psychiatrists who are treating patients, or what percentage of their patients might indeed, instead of suffering psychiatric problems, be suffering some form of possession?
Well over 50% of the cases I have observed.
Wow.
Well over 50% are really possessed by demons, and of course nothing can be done about it. They're diagnosed as schizophrenic, or as MDDs, or as whatever.
That's multiple personality disorders, dissociative identity disorder, that's DID. Yeah. And it's not to minimize or wash away the mental health aspect of it, but I'm assuming it makes it sound better and safer to say this person has this particular disorder, because calling everybody demon possessed, but then there's cases when people go off the rails and murder a whole bunch of people, and they say, hey man, I had no control over my body. I was hearing voices, right? And there was one particular case where the black man, this happened not even a couple years ago, right? Black man, he murdered somebody. Murdered people. It said he was hearing voices, right? And I asked the question, what do you do to somebody that's been possessed and kill somebody not under their control? Do you punish the person that was possessed? Because it wasn't them, it was a demon per se, right? Is this him? Here we go. This is one of them. This happened last month. Gregory Da Silva arrested after a stabbing spree. After being taken into custody and evaluated at a hospital, Da Silva reportedly told a doctor that evil voices had instructed him to commit the murders. Randy Santos. During his trial on January 26, his defense attorneys argued an insanity plea, stated that he suffered from severe schizophrenia as he was hearing voices that told him he had to kill 40 people. The trial proceeded with his attorneys arguing that mental illness left him without criminal responsibility. Exactly. That is a perfect question. What do you do with somebody that has committed atrocious acts not under their control? They were possessed by whatever entity, spirit, force, right? What do you do? Right? Is it fair to the victims to say, well, it wasn't their fault. They were under demon possession, demonic forces, and the demons made them do it. And nobody's family's wants to hear that shit. Even though everybody claims to be religious and you believe in God and evil and God and devil, you believe in demons and angels, but not when it comes to your family being a victim of said demon, right? Okay, let's continue.
And there's no succor for them. There is no succor or help for them at all.
When you have done your job, and when we come back from the top of the hour, we'll talk about what an actual exorcism is like. I guess yes. I want to know. But when you have done your job,
yes,
and it's all over, and the demon leaves,
yes,
where does that demon go?
Well, let me gently but firmly sort of put in a corrective there, Art, from the point of view of an expert. The demon has been deprived of a place, a location, a human person, in which to exercise power. Therefore, they're confined to where they originally were, which is hell. They go back merely to suffering, because their suffering is intense and perpetual and non-stop. They have had a chance of exercising power outside of their tortures, and indeed, the evil they inflict is a way of their getting their own back in some way or other, even though it doesn't relieve their pain.
So they are punished for their failure.
That's right. They're punished. And that's why in the Gospel, for instance, you have the evil spirit saying to Jesus, no.
Man, listen, he breaks this shit down. He breaks this down to a science.
Exercise power. Therefore, they're confined to where they originally were, which is hell. They go back merely to suffering, because their suffering is intense and perpetual and non-stop. They have had a chance of exercising power outside of their tortures, and indeed, the evil they inflict is a way of their getting their own back in some way or other, even though it doesn't relieve their pain.
So they are punished for their failure.
That's right. They're punished. And that's why in the Gospel, for instance, you have the evil spirit saying to Jesus, no, don't send us back to hell. Send us into these pigs. Remember the swine of Gerasene?
Yes.
And they rushed over the precipice into the water and drowned themselves. They could possess something. There's a sort of relief, a temporary relief in not being condemned purely and simply to suffer in hell. And therefore they want something to inhabit. And Christ himself said that, and St. Paul says, and Peter, and there are lots of things in the New Testament say that the devil goes around seeking whom he may devour, like a lion, whom he may possess. And I must tell you that the enormous increase, about 800% over what it used to be, in our small area, because it's only a small area we do, the northeast corner, And it is a huge increase. And here's one more thing to say, Art, which may sort of...
Isn't this what the first thing y'all say when y'all see the parents off the kids? First thing y'all be like, it's a spiritual war, spiritual war. Okay, so why do you not extend that grace to other people that are actually victims of a spiritual war? Where is this black couple that poured acid and lye on this baby's body to get rid of the body? Black couple poured. Once again, people claim or say spiritual warfare because it sounds nice. Yeah, did y'all see this? Did y'all see this story? Where is it at? Nope, this is it. This has to be it. It was a black couple. A black couple did this to their own child. Right? Once again, when you run around here talking about spiritual warfare, okay, it sounds nice, but do you really believe in that? So be mindful when you throw around that spiritual warfare. Okay, it sounds nice when you say it, but for those that are real victims of this shit, or, you know, it's trendy to say it's spiritual warfare, right?
A massive search for 4-year-old Javea Harris.
She was outside playing, and I came out here after cooking dinner a little bit, and I'm looking for her, but I don't see her nowhere.
But tonight, arrest warrants say that story was false.
She has on pink Minnie Mouse pajamas, and she had me in pink beads. She had braids.
Investigators say Javea had been dead for weeks before her mother ever called 911.
Wow.
The warrants say both parents confessed and showed Javea was injured through physical abuse.
Seeing that pretty little girl's face, she didn't deserve that.
Tonight, the 911 call, the warrants, and the Aiken County community grieving the little girl they all prayed for.
As a parent and as somebody who has served in this community as a first responder, it is absolutely heartbreaking.
Well, News 12 at 11 o'clock starts right now. Good evening. I'm Will Rio. What you just heard was a 911 call from Javea's mother, 22-year-old Michelle Herring. She told dispatchers 4-year-old Javea disappeared from their home on Hillsborough Street Tuesday night, but investigators say that was not true. Herring and Javea's father, 23-year-old Jamarie Harris, are charged with homicide by child abuse, and Herring is also charged with filing a false police report. And new tonight, arrest warrants say Herring caused severe head injuries to Javea through physical abuse and then disposed of her body at another location, which we'll get to very shortly. The documents also allege Harris knew about the injuries but did not seek medical attention. Now, investigators say this all happened between May 1st and June 15th of this year, about a month after Herring filed a false police report claiming Javea went missing.
The point I'm making is, us growing up, it was so rare to hear that parents harmed their children. It was so rare to hear that children were harming their parents. Okay? Those are like, what? It was so rare you didn't even hear about it. In the last year, how many stories have you heard or witnessed, read? The parents took out the child took out the parents, right? The boy that just shot his mama over a goddamn game controller. You understand? Now it's like it's no big deal. Now it's like, well, you know, now it's the new norm. Okay? So would you not label this spiritual warfare? Not because it sounds trendy, but this is literally what it is. You wouldn't categorize this as like total demon possession? Not to minimize the parents' doings, but this clearly is what this is. Who pours acid after you? So you beat your child to death, and you pour acid on the body to dissolve the body. But okay, I get it. Humans are wicked beings, but that's next level. But come on.
Let's take another listen to that 911 call.
Just to confirm, where was she in the house when you saw her last?
No, she wasn't in the house, ma'am. She been playing outside today. And she asked me, can she play for a little bit more before it got dark? And I said yes. And I literally, her bath water is in the tub, ran, and dinner is cooking, and I came out here to get her, and I can't even find her.
Okay, is there a certain place she likes to play outside?
Usually in the chicken coop, and that's usually where I find her every day. And I just looked in here and she's not in here.
Okay. Is there any bodies of water nearby?
I don't know, ma'am. Me and my husband just now purchased in this house. I don't know about this area much, but it's not a good area. I'll tell you that.
Now, here's where law enforcement are searching for Javea's body now after Herring admitted to disposing of it at another location. We're showing you a Google Earth view of the Debutary Creek access area, which leads into Rocky Creek Lake on the Catawba River. It's in a rural part of South Carolina near the Fairfield and Chester County lines, nearly 2 hours away. Your Meredith Anderson was out there all day today. She joins us now with the latest on the search for Javea's body.
The road to closure in the Javea Harris case extends far beyond Augusta. It looks as though that road leads right here to rural South Carolina. I'm standing here in Fairfield County, just a stone's throw from Chester County, South Carolina. This is the Debutary Creek access road. It leads to a body of water that leads to bigger bodies of water. And this is where the search is really concentrated for the body of that 4-year-old girl.
Listen, we can do stories like this all day and never run out of content. That's how prevalent it is when it comes to parent versus child violence. We won't run out of content, and it's never been like this before. Not when we were growing up as kids or even teenagers or even as an early adult. It was still rare to hear about a parent offing a kid, or, you know, the grown-ass kids offing the parents. Like, that was like, okay, every one blue moon, it was an inheritance over $200 million, and the kids colluded to, you know, every blue moon you got a Eric Melendez brothers. Like, that was every blue moon. But now it's in the last 5, 6, not even 3 years. Every week there's a story of parents versus children. Right? Let's continue.
So very sad, because unlike the previous times we've been reporting last week when we were telling you about the search efforts, there was search for hope that she would be found alive. Instead, this is a much different type of search. It is the search for her body. It is the search for her remains. All day long, there have been law enforcement officers coming and going, one of them coming now. No one gets through this area unless they are law enforcement officers, unless they are connected to the investigation. It was that way Saturday. It was that way today. We have been around to different areas trying to get access to the water, not particularly where they're searching, but just to get an idea, a feel of this area, a feel of this terrain. We're not from here. We came up here to give you information and to monitor the situation in hopes of bringing you and her family closure and bringing her family some answers. There was access to some of the other waterways in this area, but we did not see anybody searching there. We also did not see any boats in the water. So really what that tells us is that this is a very concentrated search. And as we found out today, when the warrants were released, the parents have made confessions to law enforcement. So that does lead us to believe that this very intense search effort is here, and they're here for a reason. Otherwise, they wouldn't have just randomly picked an area. Not to mention.
Okay, I'm just laying out the case. People talk about spiritual warfare, but it's like you just say because it's trendy, right? I had seen the press conference from the chief, and he was just like, I ain't never, in my 37 years, he ain't never seen, and I was just like, wow. There we go.
This is one of the most difficult, deeply disturbing, and emotionally taxing investigations this office has ever worked. I am truly sickened to share what this investigation has uncovered. Our information reveals the use of corrosive chemicals and other tools that were used to accelerate the destruction of her little body. After this was completed, These two individuals poured what remains were left of Javea into the Cedar Creek Reservoir.
Damn. Right? Okay. Like I said, it sounds nice. Are you gonna give these people? Are you gonna say they were possessed, or you're gonna say that no, they were just crazy? They did it on purpose, or that was their intent, right? Are you gonna give them the same grace when you holler spiritual warfare, demon possession? Would you constitute this mama being under the possession of demonic forces? Yes or no? Okay, let's get back to it.
Provoke a whole series of questions. Possession of the real diabolic kind is generational.
Generational.
It's generational.
Passed on.
How many years have we talked about generational curses, generational pacts, indigo children, moon children? If you're a child born under a specific cosmic astrological alignment, your parents already had plans for you before you were even conceived. Yes? Okay? Not urban folk, but the others. Let's continue.
It's passed on by training. And it's a dreadful thing when somebody comes in who are perfectly respectable, good, normal American families, and they have reared their children to be Satanists and to accept possession, and they would, unless they're stopped themselves, pass it on to their children. And it's been going on for well over 200 years.
All right,
Hollywood with its child actors, Disney, Nickelodeon, these companies are still operating. Why is Disney still in business? Why is Nickelodeon still in business, right? People claim they got all the smoking guns, all the evidence of all the children abuse of children, right? Why are these companies still in existence? Why do parents take their kids to entities that specialize in harming kids? Let's continue.
Doctor, hold it right there. Relax. You've got 8 or 9 minutes. I need 8 or 9 minutes after this. And we'll be right back. And when we come back, we will ask you about that, and we will ask you about an actual exorcism. Dr. Malachi Martin is my guest. I think I'm glad we're taking a break. We're going to do that right now. We'll be back with more. You're listening to The American. All right. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Malachi Martin.
Okay. Now, once again, there's nobody fit enough to debate this man. I'm not here to change anybody's religion, position, opinion. Okay, who am I to question what this man has seen in his days? He's dead now, but nonetheless, okay, this man was a high-ranking officer in the Vatican. Okay, let's continue.
For those of you who just joined, Malachi Martin, ex-Jesuit, former exorcist, one-time advisor to 3 popes, presently a best-selling author, as a premier investigator.
3 popes, y'all. Not 1, not 2, but 3 popes. And the last pope he got, and what made him leave was Pope John Paul II. And that's when he realized everybody's corrupted, and he left. Let's continue.
Of clandestine politics, unlikely alliances of popes and cardinals. His novels offer rare insights into the men who guide nearly 1 billion people in faith and broker the destinies of countries and continents. As a member of the Vatican Intelligence Network under Pope John XXIII, Martin helped extend the church into Iron Curtain countries. In 1964, concerned about the corrupting influences of power, Martin was released from his vows of poverty and obedience after 25 years as a Jesuit. He left Rome for New York, where he did odd jobs until a Guggenheim Fellowship enabled him to write his first bestseller, Hostage to the Devil. It was followed by the final conclave, Vatican, 3 popes and the cardinal, the keys of this blood, the Jesuits, and many, many more.
He had one last book he was going to publish. The manuscript is missing after he died under very mysterious circumstances. We'll get into all that. Let's continue.
Born, by the way, in Kerry, Ireland in 1921. He has done many, many exorcisms, and that is generally what we're talking about right now, and possession. I'm trying to understand possession. And we left off last hour talking about the fact that it apparently is generational, Doctor, generational possession.
Yes. Yes, it's. Let me explain that. It's not that possession is passed on with semen, passed on with genes. No. It's that the same demon inhabits the members of the same family for generations.
That is your Hereditary movie. King Payman. They made that mother's mother, that woman, the Toni Collette's character, her mother was part of a coven. They had a pact with King Payman, firstborn of each generation. And remember, King Payman was initially not happy being in the body of the little girl, the little disfigured girl. And then when he's driving the car and she sticks her head out and gets hit with the pole, then he becomes next in line because he needed a strong body. And that son was the one. Remember, they took him up to the treehouse and all the members are there and he gets, indoctrinated and King Payman shows up, right? And that's a phenomenal movie. Toni Collette be acting her ass off. I need to go rewatch that, but let's continue.
Consensually. He is nourished by them and kept by them and satisfied with them. The children are trained in it, and they perpetuate it in their children. It has gone on for generations. It's generational. And sometimes unwillingly, we have cases in hand, for instance, of daughters to whom their mother attached her familiar, her evil spirit.
Pay attention.
And then we have the job of ridding them of that. And it takes time, and it's painful and anguishing.
How does a person know? Does a person know? I mean, is in the mind or the soul of the possessed?
Yes.
Is there always knowledge of that possession?
There is, but it can be limited knowledge, and can also be inhibited knowledge. Some of them can't even tell you about it. Some of them can. It depends.
When you have these women strung out on drugs, prostituting themselves, doing despicable, horrific things to survive, and it's either because how they grew up, whatever traumas, right? And then they have these kids with the man that pimped them out and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I could take about 5 minutes to be really petty right now. You don't think a motherfucker like Sinful to P was a demon? You don't think somebody like Sinful to P was a whole demon? A whole demon. That man brought life into this world as a grown man via a 14-year-old child he was pimping out. That's demonic. And I see content creators still hold his name and lift his name up in praise. That's demonic. Why would you praise a man like that? But you know what? Come on, let's continue.
On the particular type of demon, there are many types of demons.
There you go.
Some of them are quite intelligent. Some of them are very stupid. Most of them are specialized in one thing and one thing only, and that's all they can do. And it's a reflection of some gift as angels which they had, now distorted as demons. And in these matters, as in everything connected with it, go to the experts. Don't try and do it yourself. And then do not. There's a big confusion out which we should clear up for everybody, and it's this. There are many healers and deliverance experts, and many people will undergo lengthy prayers and incensings and various ceremonies. But the truth is this, the horrible truth is this, that if there is a demon in your life, and he dictates your behavior, at least in one province of life, one area of life,
pay attention.
He can only be expelled by direct confrontation, by somebody with authority to expel him. So when I say him, of course, spirits have no sex. They're not male or female. I just use him in the generic sense of the English word. But it's the confrontation. It's not a prayer. Gee whiz, it was a prayer to be very simple to get rid of.
All right, this is something I want to ask about, if I might for a moment, Doctor.
Sure.
I had a call a couple of weeks ago from a woman who said that she had been in bed, believe this, with her children one night, and she was attacked, Doctor, by some sort of demon or spirit that was actually waiting upon her, actually trying to sodomize and rape her, and she was unable to speak, unable to move, unable to utter anything. And in the middle of this attack, the phone rang, the answering machine came on, somebody's voice began speaking, and whatever it was, left. Now,
okay, now I can speak to that as a victim of, I think my night terrors are once every few months. I haven't had one in a while. And from what my wife says, they have gotten worse. And I couldn't tell you the source of my attachment. I don't know where it comes from. All I can tell you is, as a little kid, I remember always this one recurring scene or moment that I always had. So in my parents' house, we had the laundry room, right? And you know, when I got old enough to do laundry, I don't know, that particular space where I did laundry, it was so constricting, right? It felt really tight. And you know, one side the washer dryer, and then the other side we had these shelving for, you know, our school books. We were little, clothes, we either, and I don't know what it did. So my reoccurring dream when I was a little kid, literally I would be on the ground in the laundry room and I can't move, and it's a pair of jeans. Don't laugh, but it's a pair of jeans. Literally a pair of jeans, no body in it. It's just a pair of jeans literally walking on top of me. Like I'm laying down and I can see it and it's walking towards me and I can't do nothing. I've had that same dream as a little kid. I could not tell you for the life of me where that shit came from. Who put it on me, who released it and attached it to me. I can't tell you for the life of me. I had that dream from a kid to basically in my early 20s. And then it manifested into something else a little stronger. So like I said, and it depends on how much stress I'm under. If I'm under a lot of stress, I tend to have more night terrors than average. If I'm not under a lot of stress, once every 3 or 4 months. But as I've gotten older, the attacks have gotten worse. And then, and there's times I do remember, and then there's times I don't remember what happened. She's like, you know what you did last night? I'm like, oh shit, what happened? What did I do? I mean, it's a laughing joke to us now, but you know, when I sit and think about it long enough, I'm like, you know, I really need to go ahead and work on that. But, and there's times where I remember, like, I can remember, like, fight for my goddamn life. And I'm sitting here like, motherfucker, you heard me fight for my life. And then she'll, you know, wake me up and I'll go right back to sleep. You know, literally she'll hear me, you know, mumbling, trying to scream or talk or speak, and I can't get it out. But I know in this goddamn, you know, nightmare, I'm yelling and fighting, you know what I'm saying? It's you know, I'm fighting a goddamn dragon. And she'll gently like grab me or just, you know, so that's, hey, I don't know. But let's continue.
She said that the only way this thing would leave, and she'd been attacked many times, was if she audibleized some sort of something. And she said, I sat there and I prayed and I asked God to cast off whatever this was, yes, and it would not go. And my question was, and I pondered after the call, it was a very serious, very scary call, yes, and I pondered afterwards, if God hears our prayers, those cast, yes, silently forward, yes, then why would God not hear a silent plea, a scream, as it were? Why must something like this be audibleized?
And this is why people are atheists to a certain extent. I can understand why people don't believe in God, or God has favorites. So when I hear black people always talk about their God's favorite, I'm like, okay, that's a wicked thing to say, that a God has favorites. But then, you know, if you're a parent with multiple children, guess what? You have favorites. So it's possible. But to serve an almighty God, as people claim it to be almighty, and you have people going through, you know, night terrors and sleep paralysis for days on end, and all you're asking for is relief for one night's ounce of sleep. What kind of God is that? Like, why are you allowing me to be tortured, sir, ma'am? But let's continue.
There are mysteries about this entire situation to which we have no answer. But there are laws. He has set up laws governing the existence of man and woman, and one of them is that audibilizing something does make a difference. And it can be as simple as this, that the attention that a demon requires of the possessed person, or the person they're going to violate, can be that possession can be distracted. Their will can be diverted, their mind can be diverted from being, as it were, hypnotized, being held by some audible voice message from another normal human being. And God knows what grace of God that voice brings with them. But that it does happen, that audibilization does have an influence, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
And there's no specific answer as to
no specific answer. And you know, Art, there's the biggest problem is who is possessible. People are always asking me, am I like...
This is a great question. Who is susceptible to being possessed by a demon? And he breaks it down.
...to be possessed. And we have tried to create a profile of the possessible person, but we have found that neither sex, nor education, nor color, nor race, nor education, nor riches, nor poverty, nothing makes a difference. It's apparently, to our mind, it's random. A random choice. I know very naughty people who are not a bit possessed, but just very naughty women. And then I know people who are not naughty at all, but lapse in one thing, and they do undergo possession.
knowing the nature of humans. If somebody has made, in effect, a pact with the devil, is it not more likely that those cases of possession would more frequently than not be the rich, the powerful, those who have attained great material success or wealth?
You would think so, Art, but de facto, no.
No.
Poor people, people with very little social resonance.
And when you listen to him explain it, it makes sense. Y'all still waiting for karma on these old people. Listen, who just died at 94? All these evil people who died in the 90s. One of the Rothschilds, they live long, fulfilling lives. They don't lose no sleep worried about y'all. And y'all be hollering, karma coming for who? Name me the evil oligarch that Peter Thiel loses no sleep at night. Elon Musk loses no sleep at night. Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, who else? Trump, Biden, Obama, Putin, Zelensky, BB. They sleep good at night. What karma are you referring to, sir? Miss that mortgage payment 2 times in a row and see what happens. Miss that car note 2 times in a row and see what happens. What the fuck you talking about, man? When years ago I kept saying there's no karma, at least not for them, because you can't show it to me, you can't prove it to me, and I used to catch a lot of heat for that. But come on, let's continue.
People occupying very obscure positions in the social ladder.
Yeah, Clive Davis. Oh, the contract's up, or devil came due. He was 94, 91. What are you talking about? How stupid do you sound? Clive Davis was not worried about what he did to Aretha, Phyllis, or Whitney. That man went to sleep good every night. But let's continue.
Everybody is susceptible to some ambition, something they want, either for revenge or for self-satisfaction or for self-advancement, and everybody is liable.
So the pact could be something as simple as the wanting or the wishing of a mate, or the attention of somebody of the opposite sex, or
that's right, to get married.
To get married.
Get this man, to get this woman.
Yes.
You see, for instance, if I could do this, now I want to take the following example, but with great care. Do you remember Susan Smith?
Yes.
Drowned to 2 children?
Of course.
Now, for an exorcist.
Wait, is this the same Susan Smith that blamed it on black man? Is this the same woman that blamed a black man for drowning her kids? This was her, right? Yeah, the white woman that blamed a black man. Okay.
Now to a crime story. This was scary too. This shocked the nation. It was 30 years ago. Susan Smith rolled her car into a South Carolina lake with her 3-year-old son Michael and his 14-month-old brother Alex.
Now, does this fall under demon possession? Because you can't pick and choose how you feel about the person, right? You can't pick and choose. Would this be categorized under demon possession? A woman puts her kids into a car, drives it off a goddamn embankment into the water. But let's continue.
Inside. Now, she initially told police that she had been carjacked by 2 black men before confessing to the murders. Today, Smith, who's serving a life sentence, will ask a parole board for her freedom. Skylar Henry's in Columbia, South Carolina with the details. Skylar, I remember this story so vividly at the time. It was shocking. We had never heard anything like this. Good morning to you.
Wait. Who just died? not Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham. You think that man missed a night's worth of sleep? How old was he? 87? They called him the War Hawk because all he wanted to do was go bomb other countries, women, men, women, and children. That man didn't lose no sleep. Where was the karma for Lindsey Graham at? Where's the karma for Mitch McDonald? Where's the karma for Nancy Pelosi? Where you understand? Come on, we can do this all day, y'all. But come on.
Well, good morning. Susan Smith was sentenced to life, but in 1994, in South Carolina, the jury was not allowed to know that a life sentence could mean that Smith could be up for parole after 30 years. Now, after serving nearly 3 decades, she's expected to appear in front of a parole board.
Your mama loves you so much.
It was a made-for-TV true crime drama that gripped the nation. For more than a week, Susan Smith
had white folk ready to kill any black man they saw if they even felt like they had something to do with those kids. White folks are ready to burn that city down.
For the return of her 2 young sons, Michael and Alex.
I think it takes a very sick and emotionally unstable person to be able to take 2 beautiful children like that, to be able to keep them from their parents.
The 1994 Union, South Carolina tale of a carjacking led to an extensive manhunt by police.
How many black men got pulled over, stopped and frisked, accosted, beat up, assaulted, civil rights violated because this cracker bitch said 2 black men carjacked and stole my car with my babies? How many black men suffered under the boot of this woman's lies? Let's continue.
Out of the red light, and just out of nowhere, this black guy came up and we just opened the door and jumped in the car.
Smith, who was 23 at the time, claimed a black man carjacked her at gunpoint and took her sons.
But 9 days into the investigation, Smith confessed to the murders. She admitted to letting her car roll into this lake with Michael and Alex still in their car seats.
Wow.
Susan Smith has been arrested and will be charged with 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of her children.
You hear them people gasping? Oh.
Pope prosecuted the case.
She was enjoying the media attention until the media attention turned on her.
Pope sought the death penalty, and in 1995, Smith was sentenced to life.
Some of the jurors said that they believed that it would be more punishment for her to be remorseful, to be in prison for the rest of her life, thinking about what she did to Michael and Alex. And I can respect that. The fallacy there is twofold. One, unbeknownst to them, she's not there for the rest of her life. Number 2, she's been focused on Susan for her 30 years. Susan has not focused on Michael and Alex.
The parole board tells CBS News that it's received nearly 500 letters calling for Smith's parole to be denied, and as of last night, it's received only 6 letters calling for Smith to be released. Now, CBS News also reached out to an attorney for Smith. The attorney says that they are not expected to release any sort of statement ahead of...
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue.
The pattern is very clear. The children were in her way.
Yes.
Of her ambition, whatever that ambition was. It concerned a young man.
Did you catch why the father said she took out her kids? The kids were in her way of her ambition.
He is liable.
So the pact could be something as simple as the wanting or the wishing of a mate or the attention of somebody of the opposite sex, or
that's right, to get married.
To get married.
Get this man, to get this woman.
Yes.
You see, for instance, if I could do this, now I want to take the following example, but with great care. Do you remember Susan Smith?
Yes.
Drowned her 2 children?
Of course.
Now, for an exorcist, the pattern is very clear. The children were in her way.
Yes.
Of her ambition, whatever that ambition was. It concerned a young man.
Yes, it did.
And an exorcist could say about that, it was obvious that they were used as obstacles. They were used by Satan to possess her will and make her commit the grievous sin of matricide. Because she was convicted of that anyway, so I'm not accusing her of anything that she's not convicted of.
Right.
But that would be read by an exorcist as a typical example of possession of the will of somebody to commit a very evil act just for the sake of doing evil, because that's the whole point of the demon, to do evil for the sake of evil.
Should somebody like you have consulted with Susan Smith?
Well, if I was asked to, generally we people, we're very chary about intervening at all, and there's enough work on our plate to keep it going. But yes,
Can somebody, doctor, of any faith be possessed?
Yes, of any faith. Doesn't matter. Of no faith at all.
Would a Catholic priest perform an exorcism on a non-Catholic?
Yes, he would, and we do. We do.
Okay, Susan Smith, that incident took place in 1994. 1994. Okay? 1994. That would make this interview in particular 32 years old. Okay? So 30 years ago, this man was already, hey, we're under spiritual attack. It's spiritual warfare. Once again, people say it because it's trendy. When you're asked to actually apply it, then people kind of get cold feet. Like, well, was it really, was you really under possession? Like, okay, which one is it? You believe in spiritual warfare, or you don't. Okay, let's continue. You believe that alcohol, drugs, and sex are gateways to possession. So are you just saying it because it sounds trendy, or you actually believe it? Because that means you're going to have to give people grace when they go off the rails. Okay? That means you would have to stop persecuting women for being prostitutes. That means you have to stop persecuting men forever how they did for being an alcoholic, because that's how the only way they can deal with their vice or their issues. You understand? That means you're going to start giving people grace if you believe in this spiritual warfare. Okay, let's continue.
Now, it's much more difficult because you can't call on their faith. Except faith, they generally emerge from an exorcism, a successful exorcism, with tremendous faith in God. Not necessarily Catholic faith, but faith in God.
Speaking for the layman,
yes.
There are many people walking around listening right now who are no doubt scared to death because at one time or another in their life, they have probably in a moment of despair
yes.
or a moment of need
yes.
said, I'd make a pact with the devil if I could just have
yes.
so-and-so. And they're probably thinking at this moment, there's a pretty good chance they may be possessed.
You can't be possessed without knowing it. And you can't be possessed against your will. You may wish all day and all night for the devil to come and sign a pact with you, as it were, a Faustian principle, like Mephistopheles in the play of Goethe. But it can't happen without your knowing it and without you willing it fully. Finally,
everything is based on consent. Exactly. This is why you have the option to download these apps, right? And it says, hey, these are the terms and conditions. Do you accept? They have to get your consent. Yes? Okay. All the evil things that the oligarchs and the companies do to you, consent, right? Yes. They just don't show up and say, we're here. No. Do you agree to these terms and conditions? Are you under duress? Okay, let's continue.
Fully, bit by bit by bit, so that you needn't be afraid that you're possessed and you don't know it. No, that doesn't happen.
Well, are there not, though, no doubt, many people who have achieved success or achieved that goal for which they made that dark wish, that moment, and they certainly must wonder.
No, they know.
They know.
They know. They know. They know full well. And that's the darkest secret of their life.
The dark, indeed.
That sets them apart from wife or husband or lover or mistress or brother or sister.
And you say you have seen these people. You know these people when you see them.
Oh, yes, you do. You meet them in the street. You meet them in cocktail parties. You meet them at dinner parties. You meet them at meetings and conventions. And because I must tell you that I get out of their way. I have enough of it. I don't want to confront them. I don't want to have anything to do with them, unless I have to professionally.
Doctor, Catholic priests, how many Catholic priests are capable of or do within the church exorcisms?
Nowadays, Art, unfortunately, a minimum. As you know, in the last 25 or 30 years, belief in the devil, belief in evil incarnate, in an evil spirit, belief in hell, belief in the demons, the existence, and the activities, say, of Lucifer and of Satan. They're distinct demons, by the way. People often confuse them, but they're distinct demons. Belief in that has flagged, has got very weak. And the result is that when we started doing a lot of exorcisms here in the northeast corner of America in the 1970s, we finally had to go to Rome and ask permission because the local bishops, some of them didn't believe. So we went to Rome and said, look, these people, we need authority because, by the way, nobody can do an exorcism without being given authority. And it must be a bishop gives authority. So we had to go and get special permission from Rome to do it because we couldn't get it here. Now, some bishops do believe, some bishops don't believe, some priests do believe, some priests don't believe. Most of them want to have nothing to do with it. They know little and they want to know less.
Well, damn, why are you in the faith to begin with then? That's part of the job. That's like being a cop and you trying to avoid a possible shootout. Well, that's part of the job, right? The Uvalde cops and down in Uvalde, Texas, that pretty much ran from the gunman. Well, sirs, that's y'all's part of y'all's duty is to go in and under gunfire sometimes. Okay, let's continue.
Really, and some bishops, some cardinals we know, say, look, don't bother me. You have all the authority you want, but don't tell me a thing about it. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Possibly the source of the hear no evil, see no evil.
That's part of it. That's part of it. Because if you have to take into account that so-and-so, this political leader, this particular borough leader, this particular CEO is possessed, it does complicate life, Art. It does complicate life. If a big surgeon, a big psychiatrist is by way of demonically possessed, it makes a huge difference.
Can a person of faith be possessed?
Can any person of faith be possessed?
Can a person of great faith be possessed?
No. Without the renouncing. The time comes when you're asked to make a change. You can't be possessed against your will, and if your will is strong in your faith, you can't be possessed. You can be obsessed, you can be bothered, you can be harassed, and harassed terribly. And the major portion of cases that occupy my daily dealing with this are cases of obsession and harassment, and it's terribly distressing.
What about the demographics of possession? We saw The Exorcist. Can a child be possessed?
No, except unless in exceptional cases you have children born and quickly developing at the age of 4, 5, with a will as strong as a person of 25, really.
Mm-hmm.
And they can undergo possession, but it's rare. It's very rare. They can be harassed and obsessed, and that.
These are your moon and indigo children. Those kids are susceptible because they're special. Yes, please do me a favor. Hit the like button. Like, what the fuck? Why are you here? I'd rather you not watch. I'd rather have low numbers and proper engagement than high numbers and no likes. Like, what the fuck, man? Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. You hate my guts. Okay, don't watch me. I have nothing for you. My content's not for you. I don't talk about women 24/7. You know, whatever. I don't talk red pill 24/7. I mean, none of that. My content is not for you. It's not applicable to your life. I can't help your life. Like, what the hell, man? It's the craziest thing. And then you watch my content, and then you run back and parrot what you heard me say different. You know, I'm gonna be the bigger person. I'm gonna let it go. It's okay. You can watch me in secret. It's okay. It's cool. I take it as a compliment.
That's usually generationally on account of the parents, on account of an aunt, on account of an uncle.
How? Let's see. What's the right word? What word am I looking for? In a generational case of possession, does the parent actively teach this child in the dark way? Is it?
Oh yes, they assign the child to their demon. They're satisfied with that. The demon becomes what they call a familiar of theirs, and they give it a name. They call it Philip, they call it George, they call it John, they call it James, they call it Mary, whatever. And they assign the child to it, they teach the child to do obeisance to it. And they make the child participate in ceremonies, Satanist ceremonies.
Wow. There's a lot of that going on in America today?
A lot. It's very hard to say a lot. That it goes on continually and sustainedly in certain areas, yes. And whether it's Boston or whether it's Montana, or California, or New Mexico, the place doesn't matter. The place doesn't matter. I must confess to you that there is a lot of very impressive generational cases are found or have been found, not all, but a lot of such cases have been found amongst old American families.
The old traditional...
Yeah. The old
originally came over on the Mayflower kind of American families?
That sort of business, yes. That sort of business, yes.
Okay.
It's a murky story and has never been written up properly, mainly because, well, it concerns family genealogies, you know, and it's hard to write that up and get it published. And then what's the point? But you come across generational possession and harassment, but possession too, in such families, such old families, whether they're Dutch Reformed, whether they're Puritan or whatever.
I suppose getting it in print, one reason might be the truth, Doctor. All right, I meant to ask you about an actual exorcism. When we come back, go ahead and relax. We will do that then.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Malachi Martin is my guest. A warning for you, it's probably going to get a little rough. We'll be right back. Back now to Dr. Malachi Martin and Doc.
This was a 32-year-old interview. 32 years ago, this man was saying all of this, and even way back before then. This is one of the final interviews he had before he died, and we're going to get into the circumstances of his passing. Once again, it's trendy for you to say spiritual warfare, but when you're asked to apply it, then people get cold feet. Okay, let's continue.
Doctor, you're in, I haven't even told everybody, you're in Manhattan, aren't you?
That's right. I live in Manhattan, Upper Manhattan.
Doctor, as a young priest, how did you first, what was your first exorcism, and what was your reaction to it?
Well, my first exorcism was in Cairo, Egypt, and I was a young priest, and I was an archaeologist. I was lying on my belly, on my back, in caves on the Sinai Peninsula, copying inscriptions dating from about the time of Abraham, about 1600 or 1700 BC. That's about, 3,000 years ago, more than 3,000 years ago.
Yes.
And an exorcism was going on, and I didn't know it when I came back down by plane and checked into Cairo, because I came down every couple of weeks to get a bath and to eat properly,
Yep.
because we lived on goat's cheese and black coffee when we were up digging. One of the priests was telling me that he was engaged in an exorcism and his assistant has collapsed, which is not uncommon with young assistants, because in your first exorcism, if you've never done it before, the impact is so great, sometimes you become totally incontinent. It scares you.
To the point where you can't move and can't speak and can't help.
And everything, all the portals are loosened. You have diarrhea, you vomit, because it's so repellent. It's so shocking.
So it's not for the weak of heart?
No, it's not. And I'll describe in a moment exactly what is the repellent part about it.
All right.
But so I was asked to assist, so I did, and apparently I had a very strong constitution, still have, and I haven't got that effect. It had a disgusting effect. It always has. That was the first time. It was a very sticky exorcism. In general, if you want to understand what an exorcism is like, and what's really the essence, the difficulty, the horror of it is this. You must imagine, say, a common scene. It's a room. It's always within a room, within a house. It's in a room. There's nothing on the walls, no nails, no pictures, nothing that can move. If the windows are there, they're barred, which shatters. You don't have glass around the place that can be shattered.
All of this is prepared.
All this is prepared. And you have the person in question is either violent or not. Most times not violent to begin with. And there's either a bed, an iron bed, or a chair, or whatever. You have no table, but you have an exorcist with an assistant, and he has an assistant there. The assistant is a priest, and then he has several other people, usually men, dressed in clothes that can take a lot of hardware. And they carry everything in their hands. They have to have a candle, and they have to have holy water, and they have to have the priest's prayer book, etc. Now, here's the point. I said before that people undergo a psychiatric examination, undergo a medical examination, and finally people say, okay, let's try exorcism. And I said that within the first 20 minutes, you know if it's a real case of possession, and then you're into it, and you can't withdraw. You can't simply say, okay, boys, let's break up and see each other next Monday. You can't do that. Once you started, you've got to finish it.
Or else what? Why?
Or else you are pursued by that demon.
You are pursued. The exorcist.
That's right. And everybody in that room has troubles.
Wow.
And the troubles can be extraordinary. I mean, I've seen assistants trying to hold somebody down and dropping the person and looking at each other because the person, for the possessed person, start telling one man what the other man did to his wife.
Oh boy.
Well, yeah.
Nasty work. Nasty work.
Yes, we've been through that too. And sometimes it's a lie, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's an exaggeration. Anyway, but after the first 20 minutes, what happens? In that 20 minutes, the following happens. Now, the temperature of the room may change. There may be a horrible smell. There may not be a horrible smell. All those are incidental things. The olfactory experience or the heat and the cold experience. But here's the real point. At a certain moment, if it's really an exorcism, and if we are in the presence of a possessing spirit or a threatening spirit, demon, everybody in the room, the priest and his assistant and the assistants, they know, and I can only call on some experiences of people listening to me, and you yourself, Art. You know there's something in the room that wants you dead, but dead. I mean, I've only been twice in my life threatened with real deaths, but really threatened. Once was in Czechoslovakia, and once was in America. And it's a horrible feeling knowing that unless something happens, you are going to die now.
Yes.
And that's it's like an invisible animal with claws, and it wants you dead. It really wants your life's blood. It wants you extinguished.
Has it happened, Doctor? Has an assistant or an exorcist or anybody present at an exorcism ever been killed?
Well, no, but they have died of heart attack. They've died of some form of internal health attack. None of them have been killed, exactly, except in one case.
Now, the crazy part is him saying this, and what killed him was like an internal attack. The last words he said to the medic, he said he was pushed down a flight of stairs out of his wheelchair. This man, not Art Bell, but the man talking, Father Malachi, his last words to the medic, something pushed me down the stairs out of his wheelchair, y'all. Let's continue. We'll cover his death and all that stuff, and the missing manuscript and his fallout with John Pope II and why he left the Vatican. We're going to get to all this shit. We're here.
There was a case in America where the person was flung out a window and defenestrators and killed 8 stories down.
Well, out a window or a heart attack, it's dead.
Oh, it's dead. But the point is that the experience is everybody in the room suddenly knows. And you don't even look at each other, you know. Especially if you've done exorcism before with the same team. You know, this is it. We're now in that presence. And the point is this. Here's the point I want to drive home. It's a confrontation, not a series of prayers, of pious wishes, and of deliverance and the healing invocations. No. This is a confrontation between the exorcist's will and the possessing demon or the harassing demon. And thereby, then, there comes the conversation. Because the exorcist has to find out the name.
Got the name, yeah. You got to get him to say his name for you to cast him out. Yeah, everybody pretty much knows that. You got to get the demon to say his name for you to cast him out. If you can't do that, it's gonna be a long day. Let's continue.
Demon calls himself. We want to speak about himself. It's not himself or herself, as we all know. But anyway, what their name is, and the name is usually a reflection of their function. What their function is as an evil spirit, and you have to get them to admit that. There are certain rules. You never answer a question put to you by the possessed person. You always fling a question back at them.
How do you know when you are speaking with that demon?
It is impossible not to know it once the person starts talking. It is impossible not to know. You know. Everybody in the room knows. And it's not a change of voice. Sometimes the voice is a big change of the voice. Sometimes it's a small change. But there's something, the manifestation of the spirit, when it's cornered by an authorized exorcist, is palpably clear, like the nose in your face. Everybody knows. And there's no deception about it. And it has this bone-chilling effect.
So it's like a war.
It's a war.
Once it begins.
It's a real confrontation. And this is where people make a mistake about treating with evil spirits. If they think or suspect or know that they're being bothered, they attempt to take it on themselves, and you can't do it. You have no authority.
Well, I was going to say, this is one of those don't try it at home things. In other words,
that's right.
You don't sit by a bed and attempt yourself, not knowing what you're doing, to say a nice little prayer that this spirit will leave the body.
You can do that if you want to, and it's okay to do it, and it does relieve the pressure and the tension, blah, 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 but it does not. It does not dispossess a possessing spirit. It does not. For that, you need authority. And this is the difficulty that Buddhists and Jews and non-Catholics sometimes come to us and say, we've been trying exorcism and it doesn't work.
Okay, now this is the problem I think most people will have when it comes to battling demons. The question I always get asked, or I've always heard being asked, well, why is it Catholics? Why is it Catholicism? Why is that the only religion that really works on demons? Right now, I've gone down Japanese rabbit holes with their spirituality. Oh my God, the Arabs, the shit that they got, the jinn, how they deal with the jinn. That's terrifying. Some of these stories out of Persia, terrifying. But outside of those two, majority of other faiths have to come to the Catholics for help. Why that is, I don't know. Listen, whether you believe it or not, there is something about the name Jesus that bothers a lot of spirits. Okay, there's something about the name of Jesus that really triggers spirits. I don't want to get into, who Jesus was, but I'm just saying, they'll tell you that name really bothers, it bothers regular folk when you start talking about Jesus, right? It makes people uncomfortable instantly. All right, but let's continue.
And one would laugh if it weren't so pathetic at times, because they must have it's only the authority of Christ can get rid of the spirit. And that's what takes place. And then that can be long or short. It can be a long game of cat and mouse, trying to trap the demon, trying to get it to concede, and then it lapses into complete silence or violence.
Doctor, we hear of successes at the end. The story usually ends well. Are there failures? Are there times
There are failures where it's total failure. And that is calamitous, because then that means the person goes ahead possessed. It means that the exorcist has sacrificed something for nothing. Because let me explain something to you, Art, which is very hard to explain, but there are parallels, analogies in life that helps. When you do exorcism, you give something, but you can't get back. It's like, for instance, any parent who is reared children will tell you, "Oh, I gave them so much love." Yeah. They're not talking about money or food, but they're thinking about what they gave of themselves. You give of yourself in love and affection and devotion and planning, etc., etc. And you can't get it back, and no parent wants it back, really. Similarly, with an exorcism, the exorcist gives a little part of him dies, put it like that, and goes away and waits for him in heaven.
Little slice of death.
Yes, a little slice. And for instance, after a bad exorcism, I mean a long, unhealthy one, you don't eat very much for a couple of weeks, and you don't sleep very deeply either. You can't. You've been locked in combat with a very, very insalubrious, unhealthy, anti-human, hating spirit that has communicated with you.
For those not of faith, are there, during the course of exorcisms, actual physical manifestations in or near the person or around the person or in the room, as in the movie? Do things ever move? Do you actually...
Oh, yes, things move. If there's anything movable in the room, it's going to move. If there are nails on the wall, if there are pictures, if there are windows that can be broken, they'll probably be broken. If there's something which is weak, unbreakable, it can break. It can move. So you want to have a very bare situation completely. And even then, the exorcist is not free once it's all over. I've been flung out of bed. I've been knocked off stools and broken my shoulder by the demon to get his own back, just to remind me he was there and to make me pay a price for the damage I did.
This is like going to war. It's very much like going to war.
This man basically untold his own death. This is crazy for him to say this. This was 32 years ago, y'all. This man's been dead 25 years. Yeah. This is one of the last few interviews he gave to Art before he passed on. But yeah, this is 32 years old, and he's been dead 25 years, roughly, give or take. But let's continue.
What most people don't realize is that there's a spiritual war on, and as St. Paul says, it's a war with the spirits. It's a war with the forces of evil, the invisible forces that want men's souls.
Are there times as a priest where even the very best of men, Doctor, sometimes fear war reasonably? Does a priest sometimes fear entering this war when you know you are about to meet up once again with the worst?
Yes, there's always that fear. And a very old exorcist gave me advice years ago in Ireland. I mentioned this to him, and he said, "Okay, but listen, learn to measure your love of God by the amount of fear in your heart," which is a very profound statement.
It is, yes.
Because it depends on how much you love God. And if you really love Him as Father, as Savior, and as final end of everything, and as the beautifier, and as the creator of nature, the creator of all beauty in our lives, it can expel fear. But if you nourish fear, fear can grow and not quantitatively, but it can equal or surpass the amount of love you have in your heart. And then you're in danger, because that fear is going to make you despair. That fear is going to make you timorous. That fear is going to make you vulnerable. Love is the only thing that can cure it. Love is the only protection we have.
You mentioned there were priests who do not believe that people are possessed.
That's right. That's right.
Do they carry that belief because of fear, do you think, for the most part, or?
No, Art. The cases I have known are priests whose faith has been diminished. See, faith is not a quantum, like a bank balance or something in your pocket or clothes you wear. It's a dimension of soul. And that dimension can be great or less, greater or lesser. And it can be diminished by infidelities, by sin, by fecklessness, by carelessness. It can be increased by virtue. It can be increased by good actions. It can be increased by the grace of God. But it's usually because of a lack of faith. When they think that there's no such thing as evil, really. That it's okay, do what you like, just don't frighten the horses. But there are laws, though. God has laws, and He doesn't allow them by violators. You can violate them, but you're going to pay the price. And one of the prices is that you slowly but surely edge towards that region of human existence where the demons are dominant. And they will satisfy you. They'll give you a good life. But you end up their prisoner. Their prisoner.
Is there ever a case where the person who is possessed dies in the course of the exorcism?
Yes, it has happened. And it's caused untold trouble because there's usually a lawsuit.
Yeah. There's been a couple priests that have actually gotten locked up. There's a couple famous cases of, I think it was a young lady. People dying. Yeah, they don't walk away scot-free. Like there's somebody's going to prison. Yeah, this one here. I think this is one of the bigger stories, right? The deceased 9-year-old was taken by her mother to an exorcist to expel a demon from her body. The exorcist caned the child for 2 days while giving water to drink. On the second day, the child lost consciousness and was pronounced dead on admission. On direct questioning, it was revealed that the child had been made to consume some medicinal syrups forcibly by the mother and the exorcist. The autopsy revealed multiple abrasions, tram-line contusions, and burns on the body. There was mottling and consolidation in the lungs. Blood-stained secretions were found in the trachea, bronchi, and stomach. Musculoskeletal dissection revealed subcutaneous hemorrhages and muscular contusions over the buttocks and limbs. Okay. Where's the other one? Let me see. Once again, it happens more often than people realize.
The child's uncle and grandfather faced the judge today, accused of felony child endangerment that resulted in death. Court documents list her name as Arely Doe. The girl's mom, Claudia Hernandez, has already been in jail since early this year, charged with the same crime. The cause of death findings in the recent coroner's report just led detectives to her brother and father, both named Rene Hernandez, and the allegations are horrifying.
This case is heartbreaking.
As we've reported, the family belongs to an offshoot church that rents a room in the 2nd Street home in San Jose. Court documents show the family believes Arely Doe was possessed by demons because she would wake up in the middle of the night screaming and crying. The prosecutor alleges that back in September, the trio held the 3-year-old girl down in the church for 12 hours as they performed an exorcism-like ceremony. They allegedly called the authorities 2 hours after she died.
Arely Doe was strangled multiple times to the point of unconsciousness. Arely Doe had fingers shoved down her throat to the point where she had multiple injuries to her mouth and to her tongue.
The attorney for the younger Renee says people shouldn't jump to conclusions about the family just because they were arrested.
I haven't received any discovery yet, and there's no reason to rush to judgment on a case like this.
The girl's mother, Claudia Hernandez, posted this 43-minute video on YouTube where she talks about her daughter's death.
I can sit here and be negative about the thing like, oh, like I wish I could go back and this and that. But it's like, there is no point of me doing that, because I cannot change what is, it is what it is.
Police arrested her just days after this post.
These 3 individuals are going to be held accountable for the death of a 3-year-old child.
In another bizarre twist, this is the same small church where baby Brandon's family and his suspected kidnappers are also members. We spoke to the church landlord on the phone today.
Porque yo no sabía que los habían arrestado.
The landlord says he didn't know about the arrests and has now given the church 30 days to vacate. The church is being evicted as many members of its small congregation, including the pastor.
Okay. Let's go here.
Out of Florida, a Fort Pierce woman under arrest now accused of killing her 6-year-old son as she carried out an exorcism. Police say that they discovered the boy's body in the family home after the school reported him absent for 2 weeks. The mom telling investigators she was told by God to get the demons out of her son's body.
Now, does this fall under demonic possession? Yes or no? You can't pick and choose, y'all, but come on.
Told them she was waiting for the boy to come back to life. She's now facing multiple charges, including second-degree murder.
Okay, so let me find stories where the actual priests are arrested. Priest. Arrested. For death in. There we go. There we go. It knows what I want. This is a famous case here. Annalise Michael, 1952, began experiencing psychiatric symptoms in her late teens. She was diagnosed with epilepsy and depression. However, her deeply religious family believed she was possessed by demons. 2 priests performed 67 exorcisms over 10 months, during which Annalise refused food and water. Annalise died in 76. In 78, her parents and the priests involved in exorcism faced legal consequences. The court determined that Annalise's death was largely due to malnutrition and dehydration resulting from the extreme nature of the exorcisms, and the individuals responsible were held accountable for not seeking proper medical help. They all received sentences of 6 months in jail and 3 years of probation, which were later suspended. The case remains a controversial and tragic example of the intersection between religious beliefs, mental health, and the need for appropriate medical intervention. Okay, so what happens? It happens. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That was based on a true story, right? Remember, this was based on a true story. Yeah, this was based off Annalise. Yeah, this was based off Annalise's exorcism.
Demony zaczęły mówić. Kim jesteście? Jakie są wasze imiona? Po wielu wysiłkach dowiedzieliśmy się, że było to 6 demonów. Można powiedzieć niezłego kalibru. Judasz, Lucyfer, Hitler, upadły ksiądz Fleischmann, Neron i Kain.
Ich habe mir immer gedacht, ja, also, ja, ich will auch für die anderen leiden, damit die nicht in die Hölle kommen und so.
Jeez. Okay. Oh, let's go here. Let's go here.
Now to Texas, where a man was executed for killing his girlfriend's 13-month-old daughter during an alleged exorcism. Prosecutors say the toddler was subjected to unspeakable violence over the course of 30 hours. 35-year-old Blaine Milam was convicted of the 2008 death in East Texas. In a final statement, Milam thanked the prison chaplaincy for opening his faith-based programs to death row inmates. The news underscores the dangers of trying to perform an exorcism without the proper guidance and training. For more, we turn to Monsignor Stephen Rossetti, head of the St. Michael Center for Spiritual Renewal and chief exorcist for the Archdiocese of Washington. Monsignor Rossetti, great to be with you.
Veronica, it's my pleasure.
So first, we do have a lot to discuss, including a recent gathering of exorcist priests in Rome. What is your take on a story that's making a lot of headlines out of Texas? What more do you know about that particular case?
Well, Veronica, I only know what I've read, but it's just horrible. And you see this happen from time to time. Some people with no training, no experience, deciding that they are going to cast out these demons from a minor, and it's just a disaster, and it's just awful. Which is why the Catholic Church, by the way, controls the ministry. You've got to be a priest, you've got to have this special training, and you're supervised by the diocese, and you have to have a mandate directly from your bishop.
Now, if someone suspects a loved one is possibly possessed by a demon, what are the next safe steps they should take?
The fact that we're actually having this conversation in today's time is refreshing. I'm glad she asked that question. But let's go.
First thing we recommend is you go to your parish priest and have him chat with you, talk to you, maybe say some what we call deliverance prayers, and see if he thinks there might be something more serious involved. If he does, if there are signs, perhaps, of demonic presence, then he forwards it to the diocese, who sends it to the exorcist.
Now, another story that we are following. Around 300 exorcist priests recently gathered in Rome. You are a member of the International Association of Exorcists. What was discussed in the meetings this year?
Well, Veronica, it's a training session where they bring in experts, and it's kind of like an ongoing training for exorcists and their team members. So you learn the latest, and you also learn the guidelines and how to perform an exorcism professionally and safely. So these kinds of gatherings are important. We need to regulate this ministry and keep it safe.
Hey, tell Hub, I said, what up? Respect.
All involved.
You recently wrote a blog post on whether a so-called witch's curse can bring harm or even death. Tell us more about what you found.
Well, after being an exorcist for 18 years, I found out that curses really can have an effect, which I didn't know, but I found out through experience. So what happens but what these witches don't realize is that it's through the power of demons, whether they know it or not. If they throw a curse or a spell, basically it's demons who make it potent if it has any effect. But the good news is, if you're a practicing Catholic, if you're practicing the faith, Jesus is your shield.
Now that's the problem I believe most people will have. Why do I have to be a Catholic? Or why do I have to believe in Jesus for this to work against demons? This is what a lot of people's issues are with faith-based religions. So when it comes to expelling demons, at the end of the day, you got to come to the Catholics. You can't go to the Buddhists. You can't go to who else? Give me another religion, right? You can't go to whoever. You got to come. It's always got to come back. It always circles back to the Catholics, and that's what turns a lot of people off, especially if you're not a devout or even a practicing Catholic. What if you're a Baptist? What if you're a Mormon? What if you're Pentecostal? You're like, I didn't deal with Catholics. Let's continue.
As Ephesians 6, and you are protected.
Religious
supremacy. Is there anything you suggest for people to do?
Well, yes, practice the faith. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think people are affected by evil so much today, is they stop practicing the faith, they get involved with evil practices and start practicing the occult. And when you do that, you open yourself up to the demonic, and curses can affect you. And you kept many of these lone wolf terrorists, they'll say things like, I heard these voices in my head, they're practicing the occult or something, and you can see that they're being pushed by Satan to commit these awful crimes.
Okay, now I think that last bit, the little rant he went on was a bit religious slant to further prop up the Catholicisms. Like, hey, practice your faith. I'm not a Catholic by no stretch of the imagination. I'm the furthest thing from a Catholic. But let's get back to Father Malachi Martin.
But we are very careful as regards the medical condition of the persons that we exorcise.
Yeah, that's a very good question. How do Muslims deal with? Okay, you know what? Let's go take a look. How do Muslims deal with exorcisms? Let's see what they do. And okay, so this goes to the Arabs with the jinn. So they got their own thing. Similar to Catholicism. Okay, in Islam is called the ruqya. To practice of reciting Quranic. It's sort of the same thing as Catholicism, right? You cite the verses, supplications, seeking refuge in Allah to cure the spiritual or physical ailments, including the suspected possession by malevolent entities called jinn. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Performed by Rockies. Though it is also permissible for any faithful Muslim to perform it on themselves or their family members. Now that's where shit gets dicey. Okay. The method, the Rocky recites specific verses from the Quran over the afflicted person, sometimes accompanied by blowing lightly on them or using water that has been recited over. Yeah, this ain't gonna cut it. You're gonna need to do a little bit more than that. Strict rules must rely solely on the words of Allah, His names, and established prayers. The recitations must be understandable language, avoiding mysterious incantations or magic. The healer must seek help only from Allah and not from the jinn themselves, saints, or any other entities. This could be problematic. Okay? Once again, all right. Catholic is king. I hate to say it, but, you know, right? When you go to get your house blessed, normally you're going to find a Catholic priest. You may find a Baptist priest, but 9 times out of 10, most people are they're going to the Catholics. Hey, man, I need my house blessed. Sir, let's go.
What has been, you say there's a lawsuit.
Well,
What?
I mean, the husband or the wife or the boy or the friend or the son or the daughter sue the priest.
Sue the priest?
Yeah. For having put their relative through an experience that caused them to have a heart attack, caused them to have a coronary, whatever. It has happened.
What would happen, doctor, to the soul of the person who would die under such circumstances?
Under those circumstances, we must say we don't know. There's always the chance. You know the old story between the bridge and the water? This man was pursued by his enemies of living in sin, and he tried to jump over a bridge and swim into the water, but they shot him. Yeah. But before his body hit the water, he had repented. There's always this. You never know. You just never know. I just wouldn't like to be in that position myself.
Has that happened to you?
Yes, it has happened to me. It has happened to me, and it's very distressing. And then I've been asked to go see people who are possessed by their husband or their wife or their brother or their sister and come away empty-handed. They simply told me to go to hell. Literally.
Literally?
Literally.
Well, that would be one pretty good sign, wouldn't it? I mean, it's just not something you do to tell a priest to go to hell.
It's very discouraging. It's very discouraging, and they do it with great hate. Great hate.
Well, as I say, wouldn't that be a very clear sign?
It is. It is, Art.
And so if you are told to go to hell, to get out of here, I don't want anything to do with you, which I can imagine more than not you might be told, then what do you do?
Well, you go away and you pray. But you see, for instance, if I go into the greengrocer and I find the milk he's supplying me is rotten, and say, listen, this milk smells highly, he'd say, listen, buddy, get the hell out of here. That's one way. That merely means stop bothering me. But if somebody tells you, in the way that it does happen now and again to an exorcist, please go to hell, because that's where I'm going. I want to be with the prince. And now I'm quoting a certain case to you. Then it chills your bones, because you know you're up against somebody perfectly possessed who just is waiting to die and go home to his master.
Wow.
Have you ever wondered, Doctor, about your own heart, about your own constitution going into one of these?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And my heart specialist has always warned me that there's the danger there. And I know there is. There is. But you see, when you're over 70, you know, the amount of good you can do in this world is limited, because you're no longer 20, 25, 30. And therefore, whatever good you can do, you do if you're wise. Because one day soon, I'm going to take the high jump.
As we all shall.
As we all shall.
So, even today, if you encountered it, you would still do it?
Oh, yes, I would. Oh, yes, I would. Because the commiseration, the human compassion, and the pity that the Holy Spirit puts in your heart impels you, because they are miserable. And they make appeals to you, unless they're completely possessed.
Doctor, hold tight, relax,
Sure.
and I can use a moment of relaxation as well, and we'll be right back to you. My guest is Dr. Malachi Martin.
Okay, so after he died, they besmirched his reputation, tried to say he was part of Mossad. A whole bunch. They say he slept with somebody's wife, like all types of shit. We're gonna get to his death in a minute. I just want to hear this last couple of minutes, and we're gonna get to his actual death, and then why he left the Vatican to begin with, which ties into the title. According to, rest in peace to Father Malachi, but Satanists have infiltrated the Vatican, which is why he left. Let's continue.
This is CBZ. Well, all right, there are stations that are just joining us now. You have missed 2 very important hours, and it's going to be impossible to catch you up, but we'll try. Malachi Martin, my guest, is an ex-Jesuit, former exorcist for many, many years, and one-time advisor to 3 popes. He is now a best-selling author as a premier investigator of the clandestine politics and unlikely alliances of popes and cardinals. Dr. Martin offers rare insights in his books into the men who guide nearly 1 billion people in faith and broker the destinies of countries and continents. As a member of the Vatican Intelligence Network under Pope John the 23rd, Martin helped extend the church into Iron Curtain countries. In 1964, concerned about the corrupting influences of power, Martin was released from his vows of poverty and obedience after 25 years as a Jesuit. He left Rome for New York, where he did odd jobs until a Guggenheim Fellowship enabled him to write his first bestseller, Hostage to the Devil, followed by the final conclave, Vatican, 3 popes, and the cardinal, the keys of this blood.
Bray J, you stupid, dog. He said, can an exorcist cast the spirit of SBE out of those guys down the street? Why, sir? Why are you like this? We're trying to have a serious discussion.
The Jesuits, and others.
Motherfucker said.
He has been reviewed by many. Forbes said, no spiritual journey is complete without a Vatican. Page Turner by Malachi Martin. Sacramento Bee said, it is to Martin's credit that his real-life fictional cardinals have flesh, bone, and blood, sometimes the heart of a South Chicago ward healer. The Dallas Morning News said, in biblical times, they would have called him a prophet. He just described in great detail what exorcisms are like. Doctor, are you there? How you've held up through great exorcisms. How are you holding up this morning?
Very well indeed. I mean, this has been an exhilarating experience, Art.
All right, I have a lady who would like to speak to you. She sent me a fax.
I'm gonna leave you
Doctor,
here.
and
I'm gonna leave you here. Matter of fact, if you want to listen to this one, because he takes calls, but this one particular lady, she's a Jew, and she's like, I can't get down with the Jesus thing. Is there any way around? Oh, you know what? Let me play this call. This is perfect, because like I said, a lot of people have an issue with having to go to the Catholic faith to find a remedy for a demon. Okay, a lot of people don't want to ascribe to Jesus or ascribe to Christ. What if you're a Jew? You grew up believing, you read in the Torah and the Talmud that he was not a prophet, right? Or if you're a Muslim, you acknowledge, yeah, Jesus was cool, but I follow Allah, right? So let's listen to this phone call, because this lady is hella conflicted. I understand why she's getting angry towards the end of this call. Let's take a listen real quick.
Called her. She sent me the following.
Yeah.
Art, please help me. If I'm not possessed, then I'm being harassed, tormented, used, abused, sodomized, all of it. I believe my mother promised me to her evil spirit. My family is an old American family. I converted to Judaism 30 years ago, and she sounded so much like somebody you described that I thought I would bring her on the air for a moment. Her name is Eva. Eva, are you there?
Yes.
You're on.
My name is Eva.
Eva, all right, Eva. I'm sorry, you're on the air with Dr. Martin.
How do you do, Dr. Martin?
Good morning, Eva. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Yeah, thank you.
Good. If you are in that condition, if you think you fulfill all those conditions in your life, you should apply to the local bishop, the bishop of the diocese in which you live. I don't know what that diocese is, and I don't need to know.
San Francisco diocese.
San Francisco, yeah. Well, there may be a difficulty there because
yeah.
a lot of the clergy in San Francisco have given up any belief in the existence of evil, above all in the existence of evil spirits, and I wouldn't at all be surprised if the Archbishop of San Francisco is among those.
Yes.
I do not know, Eva. I don't work. I love San Francisco. I've been there several times in my life. I'd love to live there.
Don't bother. I don't choose to be here.
I know. I know. Well, that's what happens with most of us. Our place of living is imposed on us. But in any case, you have to apply to the local bishop for an exorcist.
Now, you say that a person who is truly possessed is aware of it and has made a deal.
Well, put it like this, yes. With conditions and restrictions, that's true of anybody who's possessed, partially possessed.
Is it a straightforward deal?
What's that?
Is it a straightforward deal?
No, it's never straightforward.
Never straightforward.
No.
So, like I said, this is 30 years ago, but what she should have done is got the information from either her mother or whatever coven her mother was in to know what demon that she was pawned off under, right? Remember, like I said, I hate to use movies as a reference, but remember in Hereditary, the mother's friends were letting her know, hey, you know, your mom is part of this coven thing we got going on. You do know this, right? And they're trying to get her up to speed about what her mother was into and what they required from her son, because she had no clue. So what she should have done. This is like for some of y'all find out when your daddy died, your granddaddy died, you find out he was a master mason, some shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I didn't know. It's okay, but what you need to do is go through that shit and learn what deals he done made, or learn what deals your grandfather made, and or learn what is owed out of your bloodline or your family to somebody else or to something else. The moment you find out your uncle, your papa, somebody was down with some clan, some group, you better do your research, because there's a debt to be paid. And there's a reason why they kept it from you. I could be wrong. Okay? But if your parents ain't brought you into the fold and got you up to speed about, hey, this is what I'm into, this is what we do, this is what, down the road they ask these things of you, right? I'm just saying. Let's continue.
Never straightforward. You're always at the heel of the hunt in the matter, but you think it's straightforward, but it isn't.
Oh no. What I mean is what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
In a way, speaking with you is a dream come true. And it's also a bit.
Thank you very much for saying that.
A bit of a nightmare.
I know, Eva. Well, apart from anything else, I promise you that when I say mass this morning, which I shall after this broadcast, I'll give you a first intention in that mass.
There was a time when I would have just laughed at that, but
I know.
I have tremendous respect for it now.
You've acquired wisdom.
My concern is for my grown married children.
Oh boy.
And my grandchildren. I'm afraid to people that I become attached to or involved with, and that does include my family.
Yeah.
Bad things happen. And I'm really afraid to be around people. I'm thinking of a few deaths in particular, and
I know.
Stuff happens.
Eva, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about, and my heart goes out to you. It really does.
What can she do, Doctor?
She must find a good priest.
Doctor, I would like to ask you a question.
Sure.
One other time, I was listening to a talk radio program, and a woman was on who all you had to do was call up and say your name and your age or something, and she would sense these stuff about you. And I called.
No, you hear what you hear is confliction and fear and the stark realization of what her family is into. All these kids that grow up well-to-do and never had a concern or care, and then some of them become adults and they realize what their parents and grandparents had to do to get their hands dirty to make sure your life was pretty much worry-free, and there's a debt to be paid for that. There's a debt owed, and you don't want to be the person that owes that debt. And then when you realize, it's like, oh my God, so not me, then my kids or my grandkids or my great grandkids. Like, no parent wants that on their kids like that. So what you hear is genuine fear for this woman, and she's conflicted. 'Cause like I said, she 30 years ago she converted to Judaism, so now she's like, well, shit, I got to get down with this Jesus thing. I can't do that. Let's go.
And I gave my name and my age and so on. And she said, there's a very strong presence of a man who's been with you for about 10 years, and you really need to do something about that.
And was it accurate?
Yeah.
It was accurate.
Yes, and I didn't follow it up. It's really taken me close to a year to be comfortable with actually saying that.
I know, Eva. I would be chary, if I were you, of any freelancer in this whole matter.
No, I'm too
terribly serious. You see, there's no doubt about it. A demon can have information about one without any reference to God at all, without any reference to our safety.
I've already learned that.
Yeah, they can know things. You need to be under the protection of God, and you need the authority of Christ to give.
All right, there's the problem that most people are going to have. Why do I got to submit to Christ? Why is it only through Christ? That's the problem that most people are going to have. Why that particular entity? Why?
Rid of any harassing or obsessing angel in your life, because you don't sound as if you're possessed, but you do sound harassed.
Yes, sir.
And obsessed.
Yes, sir.
And that's the commonest form of demonic activity today.
Now, explain this to me. I, at one time, was even fairly unfriendly about the Catholic Church, but there's been so much movement now that you'd have to decide to there are so many factions.
Yes, of course.
Which is good to my point of view.
Yes.
You say, give myself up to the authority of Christ.
Yes. Through an exorcist.
That doesn't mean to accept Christ as a savior. It just means to acknowledge the authority that Christ would have in this matter.
You hear that, right? That's a Jew woman talking. Like, what? Because in her mind, she hears submit to Christ, and they don't recognize Christ as the savior. That's the problem that most people have with Catholics and the faith, the faith. When people say the faith, they mean Catholic, the Catholic faith.
That's right. Eva, but I must be frank with you. Once you admit Christ as having authority in this matter, and once you benefit by that authority, you'll find that he lives in your heart.
Well, he was a Jew.
Emma, we are out of time and we must go.
She's
but
going
you,
in. He was a Jew. All right. She's about to. I can't do that. He was a Jew. This is 30 years old. This is a 30-year-old interview, y'all. Okay. Now let's get to the reasons why he left the Vatican and then his very suspicious death. Rest in peace to Art Bell. I mean, his stuff, he's got classic stuff, man. I mean, you can never run out of Art Bell stuff. Where's that other? Okay. How long is this one? Oh, that's 55. Okay. So we're going to break this up. We're going to do the intro. We're going to get to why he left the Vatican. And then we're going to get to his death. Right? Okay, let's go.
Those 4 French cardinals, I'm inclined to say, well, one cardinal said to Pacelli, who was then passed the 12th when Hitler came to Rome, and Ribbentrop came to Rome, sorry, and Pacelli wouldn't see him, but this Maglione saw him, and he came into Pacelli after and he said, well, I have prayed God that he would open his eyes. And Pacelli said, well, please God will close them. So I often think about the 4 French cardinals. They're so left-wing, they're so feckless, and I know they're cardinals of my church, and you know how rabid a Catholic I am for authority.
It was the Pope of 1960 who was supposed to reveal the secret and follow out the instructions, do what it said.
Okay, the 3 secrets they're referring to are the 3 secrets of Fatima. The 3 prophecies or the 3 secrets of Fatima. So he left the Vatican because they suppressed the 3rd secret. It was supposed to be revealed to the world. They suppressed it, and he pretty much concluded that Satanists had infiltrated the Vatican, and he left. He left on good terms, but he left. Okay?
The Pope of 1960 was the good Pope John, the 23rd. He refused to do that. He refused to obey Our Lady. He refused the mandate of heaven. He refused to publish the secret, and he refused to do what it said. Mm. And consequently, we're in trouble.
Okay, so the 3 secrets of Fatima. There we go. Okay. These are the 3 secrets of Our Lady of Fatima. A series of prophetic visions and messages revealed to 3 shepherd children in Fatima in Portugal in 1917. Okay. So the first secret, once again, take everything I present with a grain of sea salt. The first secret is a terrifying, vivid vision of hell. The Virgin Mary showed the children a vast sea of fire beneath the earth, filled with demons and suffering souls, to emphasize the reality of hell and the need to pray for sinners. The second secret, a prophecy concerning the end of World War I and the outbreak of World War II. It warned that if humanity did not stop offending God, a worse war would begin during the papacy of the Pius of 11. Pew 11. It also included a plea for the consecration of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the practice of the 5 first Saturdays devotion to ensure world peace. The third secret, which was supposed to be revealed but was suppressed, a symbolic vision of the persecution and suffering of the church. It famously depicted a bishop dressed in white, which the Vatican later interpreted as the Pope walking up a steep mountain among the corpses of martyrs. Before being gunned down by soldiers, this was revealed by the Vatican in 2000 and is widely associated with the 81 assassination attempt of Pope John Paul II. Okay? That's what they're referring to, the 3 secrets of Fatima. Let's continue.
Perhaps one of the most controversial...
Let me go. Okay. We don't need to introduce. We don't need introduction. Do we need background? We don't need background. Okay. Here's his theory about Russia. Let's go here.
Russia himself.
You know, there is a common persuasion. It's an illusion that there was a revolution in those 5 countries of Eastern Europe: East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Romania, and Poland. And the people simply threw off the chains of the Soviet Union. And the fact is, there was no revolution. The people did not rise. There was no revolution. What happened was that each of the strong men in charge of those countries for Moscow, a man called Erich Honecker in Germany, a man called Zivkov down in Bulgaria, a man called Milos Jakis in Czechoslovakia, and so on, they got a telephone call from Moscow saying, "Get out. Let the people in." The thing was consented to and arranged from Moscow itself. There was no revolution. Then the people took to the streets in joy at being liberated from the Russian presence, as 'twere. That's the first thing we must remember about the breakaway of the so-called revolution in Eastern European countries. There was no revolution. Moscow decided to skip its representatives, these horrible men it had in charge of these countries. They ground down the faces of the people with armor, military armor, and prisons and secret police. Number one. Number two, in Russia itself, we've been hearing for the last 2 or 3 years that Mikhail Gorbachev is on the plank, that he's finished, that he's going, that his plans are broken, that in a short time he will have disappeared. This man was never so powerful as he is today. Never so powerful. And the arm of his power, the 2 arms of his power, are still intact. One is the thing which the Russians call the Komitet Gosudarственной Безопасности, otherwise known as the KGB, or the KGB, as the Russians refer to it, KGB. And it's the secret police. It's more than a secret police. We speak about secret police as the arm of government. The KGB, or the KGB, is the government, and is the government which Mr. Gorbachev now presides over, of the reformed Soviet Union.
Okay, Gorbachev, that was during Reagan. So Mikhail, how old was this? Mikhail Gorbachev. So this was 50 years ago. In 85, that was the Cold War. Let me think. Nope. I did that wrong. That was 41 years ago. Okay, let's continue. 41 years ago.
Different setup from what our media tell us and from what popular commentators have given us as the view of facts. It's a different situation. The 2 arms he has, therefore, are the KGB, and secondly, the huge missilery of the Soviet Union. Now, Mr. Gorbachev has made it impossible for us to say no, because he has gone to the West. He had 2 stages in his plans. First of all, the stage was to come and be seen. He actually wore trousers with a crease in it, and he had a wife, Raisa, beside him, dressed in a very, very fashionable way, and she charmed the West as a very cultured lady, and she is indeed. She lectures at Moscow University. She's very versatile, and she's multilingual, and she's a convinced Marxist, as indeed Mr. Gorbachev was and still is. The first thing was to make himself known, become the glad boy of the West, and he did. You remember, if you read the papers and saw the television, it was Gorby, 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 whether he was pressing flesh in San Francisco, or Washington, or Chicago, or Detroit, or Paris, or London, or Rome. His popularity soared. He was considered to be the man who opened up the Soviet Union. And the picture he presented of the Soviet Union was that, well, you fellows in the West, you originally thought that we were just a big, ugly, stinking bear with claws, ready to kill you.
Well, now we're just a little cuddly teddy bear who needs his diapers changed and he's hungry, so help us. This was the message given in the first stage. The second stage was more difficult for him because it meant that he had to make himself accepted as a member of the West, as an inherent member of the market, the Western market system of America and Europe, which had achieved such economic powers in the 40 years during which the Soviet Union went down economically but up militarily.
Okay. Spot on. So now let's go here. Is this about the Vatican? Let me see. I want to get to why he left the Vatican. It's coming.
Certainly, Martin wouldn't be surprised in the slightest about Russia's aggression against the Ukraine or...
Nope. Okay, that's not it. The Quickening, we've heard that. The Great Awakening, we've heard that. The Controversy. Okay, let's go here.
So in short, what do we know about him as a writer? Without spoiling the video that I plan to do in the near future on his specific claims about the state of the church today, we can understand Father Martin as a writer who used his skills to expose the truth as he understood it, with an eye towards that great awakening he saw coming. Is that great awakening coming still? Perhaps. As I've said, there is a general sense that something big is coming, and that events are unfolding towards that happening.
And we all pretty much agree that 2030 is that year, okay? 2030 is the year of whatever they got coming down the pipe. It's coming, and it's going to be big. So no one's debating 2030. Now let's go to Pope John Paul II.
Great.
Why is it that these three popes, the last three popes, refused? And when John Paul II was asked to now consecrate Russia, no, all he could do was kneel in St. Peter's Square, and in the middle of a consecration of the human race, the Immaculate Heart of Mary, he said, and also we consecrate to her care the people who are awaiting their consecration to her Immaculate Heart. What sort of gobbledygook is that? For me, that's gobbledygook, and disgusts me on John Paul II's lips. He's supposedly a knight of the Immaculate Queen. He's supposedly a member of Maximilian Kolbe's group of knights fighting, and he wouldn't do this.
One of the assertions of his being a sedevacantist comes from this photograph, which will segue us into the next controversy. Shown there are several sedevacantist bishops, men who had broken from Rome after the Second Vatican Council, over perceived heresies promoted by Rome in the post-conciliar era. Martin made pretty clear in the latter years of his life, a point Michael Matt at the Remnant also made recently, specifically that the enemies of the Church and our enemies as traditional Catholics are not people in the SSPX, the FSSP, sedevacantists, or even traditionally minded Catholics in diocesan Novus Ordo Missae parishes, nor are Catholics who earnestly and honestly seek the truth of the faith and answers in the present crisis who attend the new Mass as enemies of the Church. The innovators, the usurpers, the modernists are the enemy. Satan is the enemy. It's clear that Martin shared this opinion himself, as his numerous interviews attest. Plus, he worked with the institutional church as an exorcist and hearing confessions until his health became too much of an issue to continue that work, which sedevacantists aren't known to do. But let's turn to that picture again. Another controversy is this. Was Malachi Martin secretly ordained a bishop? That answer might actually be yes.
Okay, so the word is when he died, he was secretly buried as a bishop. No one's disputing it. It's hard to confirm, but that's what the story goes, that he was secretly buried as a bishop. Even though he left the Vatican, Satanists run it. He left on good terms, and then after he died, mysteriously, right? And then they, it's like you fall out, whatever, with the group, and they still bury you in good standing. As long as you leave on good terms. I've said this many times before. Whatever group you're into, lodge or house or family you're in, as long as you leave on good terms, when your life expires, you're usually buried in good standing. As long as you always leave on good terms. Always stay, what I always say, always stay in good standing. Okay? Let's continue.
Closely at that picture, and you'll see clearly him wearing the traditional cassock of the Roman bishop. You can see the crimson there along with the black. Who ordained him would be a mystery. If I had to venture a guess, I'd say it might have been Archbishop Lefebvre, who was not a sedevacantist at all, despite people making that claim. Malachi Martin spoke positively about Lefebvre frequently. Here's one example.
Well, I must tell you, the older I get, every day I bless the Lord for having given us Archbishop Lefebvre. Because no matter what defects or excesses there may be in other way in the Society of Pius X, the society he founded, the institute he founded, there is this one thing, they have ensured that the church has a small but definite supply of validly ordained priests who say valid masses and hear valid confessions. And that, for me, is a boon from the hand of God. This can't be the work of Satan. Satan doesn't do that. He's cutting off his nose to spite his face. So I thank God for Monsignor Lefebvre. And I think that in the providence of God, he was raised up after the Vatican Council just to counteract in a very sharp and abrupt and jolting way the onward corruption of the church in a central act of worship. So I think that he's a blessing. I think he was sent by God.
If he wasn't ordained by Lefebvre himself, then it was likely by another bishop of the SSPX.
Okay.
You can find...
Now. Is the part where his death? Where's his death? Let's go here. Okay, here we go. His death is crazy. Matter of fact, he pretty much told what was going to happen to him in that Art Bell interview that we listened to earlier.
What got those priests killed, especially considering that they were collaborating in some degree on a book that was alleged to name names of priests and bishops engaged in the abuses. One thing is clear. If you listen to Martin's later interviews, you sense a weariness and a deep-seated anger and sadness at the state of the church. I'll let you consider his death on your own. In my own mind, I do think it's more than credible that Martin was murdered. We've seen several priests die under mysterious circumstances in the past 20 years, often with strange diagnoses of suicides that were all but impossible. This is the stuff of conspiracy theories, but there is a pattern that is easy to see. I'll end this on my own criticisms of Malachi Martin. First, he played fast and loose with facts, most notably in his treatment of St. Ignatius of Loyola in his book, The Jesuits, where he got elementary facts about the saint wrong. There are other examples, of course. The other area, though, is more important. On Art Bell's radio show on at least one occasion, he would share airtime with people engaged in occult activity, and he wouldn't correct them. I distinctly recall a three-way conversation between Martin, Bell, and a self-described remote viewer. That practice has been explicitly condemned by the church as occult activity, trafficking in demons. Martin never warned him against the dangers of the supposed remote viewing, which is deeply disappointing. It is possible that Martin and Bell had an agreement to not criticize his guests for their poor spiritual choices. I suppose we'll never know. The last thought I will present is this. Martin was an outspoken critic of the Vatican's...
I think that was the right thing for him to do. Because, once again, going back to Blanco, all you're doing is promoting religious supremacy. So I think it was smart for him to not do that. Once again, the Catholic Church it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. Okay, so let me see. We don't care about the intro. We understood the Vatican. So let's go here. Third secret. All right, let's go.
Yeah, would you describe for us why the secret was hidden before we go into it?
Sure. Well, Our Lady wanted it to be revealed at the latest by 1960, because then it would be, when Sister Lucia asked her, she said it was because it would be more understandable at that time. But John the 23rd decided not to reveal it, even though the whole Catholic world was waiting. I mean, my mother, I may have mentioned this on the show before, but my mother said it was even the butt of jokes. Her cousins came up to her and said, Mary, we found out what the third secret is. And she says, what was it? What was it? And they said, oh, it was the bill for the Last Supper. So,
right.
You know, so, but, and then, of course, when he opened the Vatican Council, he famously said, oh, we're not going to listen to these prophets of doom and gloom.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. The prophets of doom. That's very strange for any sitting pope to refer that way to the seers of any of the Vatican-approved apparitions. And he was just intent on, I guess, maligning them, right? They're the prophets of doom. You know, I want to bring this exciting new Vatican Council. So does that automatically mean that the third secret was about Vatican II? Well, no. But it means that its tone was probably not aligned with the tone that John the 23rd wanted to affect in his new pontificate or something, right?
Yeah, it didn't really fit with the 60s sunshine and rainbows.
Right. And of course, a lot of trads think, more than just not fitting with sunshine and rainbows, that the third secret of Fatima was actually some sort of warning about the council itself. And it's speculation. Speculation is as speculation does, but we're not going to do that today. I just want to, we're going to do a little bit of reasonable speculation about Malachi Martin, the man. Is it Malachi or Malachi? I never know how to pronounce his name.
You know, I've heard it both ways.
Father Martin's, there's a nice middle way. Father Martin's mysterious death, less than a year before the Vatican, namely Cardinal Bertone, was kind of the main messenger of the third secret as it was delivered in May of 2000.
June.
Oh, June, sorry. June of 2000. They finally delivered it, at least half the secret. And it was really this Cardinal Bertone who has a whole long, interesting story with regard to the Fatima secret itself. He was the main one. It wasn't Ratzinger, who was the CDF at the time, who you'd expect to present it. Well, is it your theory, Ed, that Father Martin's death did he have an accident? Like, did he fall off a toilet or something? I haven't looked at this in many years. How did he die? Or fall downstairs? Something like that. Maybe I'm thinking Back to the Future. It was suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fall of some kind, and it was kind of suspicious. And again, given his track record of what he accused the Vatican of, or anything is possible, right? I mean, beside windswept house, obviously he goes into his allegations. I mean, a couple of years ago, you did the video on the 4 things Malachi Martin got right?
Yep. Yeah, and I did a book club with my friend, quite frankly, on Windswept House on his channel.
And Father Gruner had had some comments from Father Malachi Martin in the late 1990s in the Fatima Crusader, again alleging that there's Satanism going on in the Vatican. And so, yeah, perhaps you've heard of Robert Morrow. He is a man who knew Father Malachi Martin and is coming out with a book, hopefully soon. I believe he's got a Give, Send, Go page where he's trying to get people to help support that project.
Yep. Yeah, is he? I think I might be getting him mixed up with it. He's an opponent of the one I have in mind, of Father Martin. What? Tell us about Mr. Morrow.
Yeah, so Mr. Morrow, if I remember correctly, actually produced a documentary about Father Martin. Was it Hostage to the Devil? I think that was the name of the video, based on a book, which I believe Father Martin wrote, called Hostage to the Devil. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Morrow suffered something physically, a physical attack, which he lost him the use of his right eye, if I'm not mistaken. So, once you try to, combat evil, you there are some scars that could happen to you. But from the interviews I've seen him do on YouTube, I understand he's getting close to finishing his book, where he wants to refute the calumnies against Father Martin. I mean, there's a lot of them under this. I mean, everything from accusations of sleeping with other man's wife to being an agent for the Mossad to, a number of other things.
Right. There are lots. Yeah, agent of Mossad, Opus Dei, which is often kind of taken to be the same thing, adulterer. What was his status with regard to the Jesuits? Because he had this sort of free to roam hall pass, allegedly given to him by the Jesuits, and he was just living kind of like a bachelor in New York City, the way it's told.
Well, it was Paul VI who, through a rescript, gave him a dispensation or whatever it was that he needed to no longer be an active Jesuit. Of course, he was still a priest. I believe he still said Mass privately on a daily basis. And but he, as you say, he lived on 63rd Street on the east side of Manhattan. But again, a lot of people don't know this. Apparently, to support himself, he would clean greasy, the thing you fry donuts or French fries in, and he would clean them during the day. And at night, he drove a taxi, apparently. Very mysterious figure. I mean, there's stories that he was, in fact, I think Morrow's book will say that it's more than stories. He did work behind the Iron Curtain in the 1950s,
right,
to keep the Catholic faith alive in the Eastern European communist countries.
Right.
And I believe the book will reveal that he actually was consecrated a secret bishop, which was a rumor that's been swirling over the years.
Yes, it is. So do you buy these? Do you buy Morrow's account?
I kind of do. I mean, I look forward to reading the book, but from what I've seen from the interviews, it feels right. It sounds like it makes sense. And then Robert Moynihan of Inside the Vatican, he's done a couple of shows with Father Charles Murr on the subject of Father Malachi Martin. Father Murr knew him in Manhattan when they were both in the archdiocese there. And if I'm not mistaken, it's Moynihan who has heard both sides of the story. Moynihan got a manuscript or a long letter from the man who used to be in the 1960s in the Vatican. Was he representing, was it Life magazine or Time magazine? And he's the one that Martin is accused of committing adultery with his wife. But anyway, from what I've read, I think that Martin is innocent of the charges.
Okay, we'll cover his death and we'll get out of here. So what he apparently said to the medic was, somebody pushed me. All right, Malachi. Now, he didn't die from the fall. He died from intracerebral hemorrhage caused by a severe fall in his apartment. Okay? Official statements from his companion and hospital records indicated the father suffered a head injury from a fall in his home, which led to a stroke and his subsequent passing. Now, remember, in the interview with Art Bell, he said a lot of his colleagues end up dying from internal trauma, right? Okay. 2016 Netflix documentary, close friend and former CIA agent Robert Merrill claimed that Martin told him he had been pushed off a stool by an unseen demonic force prior to his death. Ooh, let's go check it out. Now I got to go watch it on Netflix. Now I got to go watch it on Netflix. Now I got to go watch it. Slow as That Life. Okay, so about Malachi Martin. Okay. Now I got to go watch it. Oh, this is it. So I don't have to go to YouTube. All right, so oh, sons of bitches. I knew it was too good to be true. Let's go here.
The truth is, whether we like it or not, the devil does exist. He can influence, and he does influence.
Exorcism then is a healing, and it's a very horrid healing, but it does heal. Because inside they're living hell.
Anybody who exposes a devil is in danger. The word of God is the truth. The devil does not want people hearing the word of God.
Satan is having his last stand. This is his Waterloo, but he's going to destroy as much as he can before he finally is shoved out of the abyss again, chained by Michael.
We did not talk an awful lot about his exorcisms, except the last one. I kept asking him not to do it.
I still believe that Malachi was the target, and not that little girl. She was the bait.
Wow.
We're talking about a 4-year-old child. She was innocence personified. There was no reason why this kid should have been afflicted in this way. And he was called by Christ to do these things.
He was a great mythomaniac. He was just a liar and a scoundrel and a cheat.
He's a warrior. He was a warrior for God, and he still is a warrior for God.
Okay, I'm going to have to check that out. The more time passes, the more Father Malachi is proven correct. Interesting. Romero. Okay, this guy's a former CIA, man. Listen, if he says somebody died crazy, then goddamn it, I would take his word for it. Or I'm more inclined to give him a listen. Okay, this back in 2017, exorcist priest died after possessed child spoke to him. Oh boy. I'll get out of here. And you get out of here. Okay, possessed child is believed to be the culprit behind the death of an Irish priest who inspired the exorcist was based off of him. Yeah, he was the inspiration for that movie. Okay. Malachi Martin went to perform an exorcism on a 4-year-old girl in Connecticut in 1999, but mysteriously died soon after when he was pushed by an invisible force. Martin's pal, former CIA agent Robert Merrill, recalled how when Martin went to greet the girl at her home, the child said to him, "So you're Malachi Martin, and you think you can help her?" Merrill frequently drove Martin to carry out exorcism and said he was there the day of the creepy interaction. Robert is a former CIA agent, and this is the most disturbing thing he'd ever seen in all his years working for the U.S. government. Okay, Martin died at age 78, suffering from head trauma in the fall. That's crazy. Yeah, this is the guy that is the inspiration for The Exorcist. Huh. Okay. That's all I got. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. Yeah, let me see. Y'all said in the poll, I asked, is Catholicism the best way to fight demons? 82% of y'all said no. Okay. Okay. Religion supremacy. Wait, now, if I remember in The Exorcist, the old man played by Max von Sydow, how did he die? Wait. Okay, wait. Let's go look. And I remember Father Marin said, come into me, right? He took on the demon, threw himself out the window. Because remember, he had a friend that did that. He had a former colleague that threw himself out of the window. Okay. How did the old man die? I thought it was a heart attack. Exorcist priest deaths. I thought it was a heart attack. I thought, Max's character, I thought he died of a heart attack. Okay, not that one. I don't want that scene. Okay, Father Lancaster Marin suffers a fatal heart attack. And Damien Karras had to take, so Father Damien had to finish it up by himself. And he said, come into me. And he threw himself out the window. And they remember the one priest, his buddy, came up to him and he utters his last words into homeboy's ear. Right? Okay. Okay, so the real life inspiration for the case was led by Father William Bowden. Okay. And then the Vatican's chief exorcist, Father Gabriel Amorth, he inspired the 2023 film, The Pope's Exorcist. This is with Russell Crowe. Very good movie, by the way. This was a very, very good movie. The demon basically set up the Pope. He lured him in. So very much what they're claiming with the little girl, that the girl wasn't the target. It was always Malachi. Same premise with this movie here. The Pope, his exorcist, his guy was always the target, not the person being possessed. Very, very good movie. Very good movie. Former Jesuit. Okay, he died from a stroke and subsequent fall in his apartment. Yeah, so he had the heart attack. And he was laughing, right? I believe the demon starts laughing as he's trying to do CPR. Did y'all watch the uncut scene? Well, not the uncut Exorcist, when she takes the crucifix and starts stabbing herself. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, that, I don't know who's all seen that, but that's what got cut out. And there was an Exorcist director's cut, and she takes the crucifix and starts jabbing herself in between her legs with the crucifix. I was like, oh my Lord. Oh my Lord.
You son of a bitch!
He's not beating him up like a man.
Take me! Come into me! God damn you! Take me! Take me!
Because he knew he wasn't going to beat that thing by himself. He knew. That was the lesser of two evils, was for him to invite the demon into him. Pazuzu, yes? Yeah, and then you saw the father's image briefly for a split second in the mirror, in the window. A lot of little Easter eggs. Yeah, that was a priest. Yeah. Okay, and then what did his buddy say? And his friend went up to him right before he died. You're not gonna give me the long scene? Wait. Let me find the longer scene. Here we go. He walked in. There we go. Here we go.
Push it! All right, get back!
Do you want to make a confession? Are you sorry for having offended God and for all the sins of your past life? He wrote to himself and omnibus becomes to how many partners it feed. It's so good.
Okay. Classic. That movie terrified a lot of folks. Exorcist 2 was decent. I didn't care for Exorcist 3, The Heretic. When they brought her back as an adult, I was like, it's getting weird. But Exorcist 2 was pretty good. All right. That's all I got. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Tomorrow, I promise we'll get the House of Dragon. We had no power this week. No Canaan. Raising Canaan. That's next week. They took a break. I seen the trailer for Power Origins. Come on, man. Okay, let me come on. All you Power sycophants that don't know good writing. Now we're gonna switch to some urban stuff briefly for like 2 seconds. 2 effing seconds. Once again, so you give us 5 years of Raising Canaan just to introduce Tommy and Ghost. Because that's what's going to happen. So you can't kill Breeze. Hear me out. You can't kill Breeze in the series finale. Like, there's no more. This is the end. This is the final season of Raising Canaan. So you can't kill Canaan. You can't kill Breeze. Right? So you gave us 4 years, and the big payoff is a young Tommy and a young Ghost to lead into another series. Now, don't get me wrong, business hat, that's very smart. That's how you keep your fan base, your demographics in a consistent loop. Never give no real big payoffs at the end of the series and introduce another series with the same group of characters. Don't give them no real emotional growth, no real character growth, no real story growth. Just keep them kind of at a capped, right? So we got 4 years of Raising Canaan only for them to going to introduce young Tommy and Ghost to lead into Power Origins. And then you'll go into how many years seasons they're gonna drag it out, 3 or 4 seasons to see Breeze get killed, to see Jukebox go left, to see Kanan get set up by Tasha and Ghost, and he do 10 years in prison. So how many seasons are you gonna drag this out for? And you know what? I'm gonna watch. You know why? Because I like showing you guys that you don't know shit about good storytelling. I like, nana boo boo. Okay, let's go.
We came in this motherfucker to touch the sky, brother. I won't let us settle for less. This moment right here is when we start dreaming. It's about proving to ourselves that we can do this.
Oh, so Kanan comes out just fine. Kanan just comes out just fine. So you're gonna drag this out for 3 or 4 seasons, maybe 5 seasons, depending on the viewership numbers. So you're not gonna get no real payoff from Raising Kanan. Marvin is gonna get killed by the Italians, or an Italian for sure. Rocky, I don't know, rides off into the sunset, or she's gonna be given a very ambiguous send off. You don't know if she dies, or she goes to prison, or she goes into a mental ward. Fine. Who else? Jukebox gets her comeuppance. She becomes a cop because her dealings with the white cop. Great. We assume the big payoff is Breeze kills Pops and Snaps, because I guess Kanan finds out Pops and Snaps were the ones that killed Famous. And I guess because Breeze is his brother and it's business before everything else, because Breeze believes in business, never personal. Kanan's like, yo, they killed my mans. They lied to me, had me working for them and shit. Like, this is bad for business. Okay, I'll kill Pops and Snaps for you because you my boy. Does that sound like the series finale for Raising Kanan? For all you stupid people that really think this is good storytelling.
Oh my God. Do this shit on our own. This how legends get made. Man, I don't know if I actually believe all that shit I just said, but it sounded so fucking dope coming out my mouth, boy. So dope.
Wow, I can't wait. Yes, I can. Oh, what you say? Another Power Legacy with Tariq and Jesus, man. Okay. I get it, man. Hey, keep your fan base hooked on a perpetual loop of mediocre storytelling and big ass plot holes and just characters with no real growth, no real depth to them. You still somebody explain to me why Kanan decided to be a drug dealer. Once again, you guys, whatever, Power more than I do. Give me Kanan's motivation again for wanting to be a drug dealer. What was the motivation? What was the precipice, the breaking point for this rich kid? Because he grew up a rich kid. I want to sell dope like my mother. I want to sell dope like my mother and my uncles Lou and Marvin. All great villains have what? Great motivations. All of the great villains have great motivations. You may not agree with them, but you understand why they're doing what they're doing. Right? The whole Batman Joker, when you're a kid, you root for Batman, but as an adult, you realize the Joker was right the whole time. Yeah. So y'all got it, man. Listen, I hate cause you know what it tells me? It tells me you don't respect the audience, or you think the audience is too stupid for anything better. And that's the problem I have with urban crime dramas. You think black people, black audiences are too stupid for something complex and deep. Why haven't you got anything close to The Wire since The Wire went off 10 years ago? Give me the urban crime drama, storytelling wise, character wise, progression, depth, motive. You know what I'm saying? Give me the show that comes close to The Wire, an urban show. Maybe Godfather of Harlem. Maybe Godfather of Harlem. What else? What else we got? Anything else? Don't tell me Greenleaf. Greenleaf is trash. Some of y'all gonna be like, Greenleaf? No. There's another. Tyler Perry has a bunch of urban crime family dramas. It's cute, but stop. Once again, the problem I have with urban crime dramas is you don't think the audience is smart enough to appreciate good storytelling. They think black audiences are dumb. I hate to say it, right? Okay. All right, I'm out of here for real. For real. So thank y'all for coming through. Tomorrow, I will go see the Odyssey. We will discuss the Odyssey. And then, yeah, we'll do the Hitler thing. So, and you know what? And I respect Tyler. He stays in his lane. You get what you get out of Tyler Perry. No one expects anything more or anything less from Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry knows his lane, his niche, his audience. He knows his audience are a bunch of Jesus freaks, Bible thumpers that at night watch porn. Okay? Tyler Perry understands his audience goes to church on Sunday and engage in gangbangs and threesomes on Saturday. He knows his audience. That's perfect. That's what you're supposed to do. Cater to your audience. That's it. That's all. Okay? Power caters to a bunch of 40, 50-year-old hip-hop cats that want to relive their youth and, I'm never too old to grow up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. All right, nigga. I'm out here. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day.
It's my